Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hear ye, hear ye. The dishonorable Judge Joleen Lunzer is here. Court is in session, you guys. Good morning. We are going to be reacting to, providing commentary and roasting day 7 of the Karen Read trial. We got Jen McCabe back up on the witness stand. We are going to see her cross-examination later on this morning. So grab a beverage. Hopefully you're wearing something very comfy. Smash that like and let's get this party started.
If you like what you see, come and get it with me. I know you deserve all you want, 'cause your heart's made of gold. But don't wait till you're old. If you want it, I get you some.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, stand-up comedian and pop culture vulture. Joleen Lunzer here for another Judge Joleen. We have been talking about watching live together. Well, somewhat live. We're a little bit behind because I want to be able to miss all the sidebars and the breaks. So we start a little bit later. We stop the, the feed here and there for commentary and maybe a little bit of fun if fun can be had in this trial. Okay. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Wednesday, you guys. Smash that like if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe. It's a free way to support the channel, and it lets the YouTube algorithm know once you smash that like that we are over here. If you have friends, family, enemies who are watching and following the Karen Read Retrial, trial number 2 that we are in day 7 of, that you think would enjoy this content, please send it over to them. Or if you want to share it on your social media, that would be so very appreciated. All right, so we're going to hop right back in to when Jen McCabe got up on the stand again this morning. And I think we're an hour and a half behind. I'm going to play it with, I'm going to speed it up at times, because we know that, Hank Brennan is a little quicker than Lolly was as the prosecution, but the prosecution is still questioning Jen McCabe. And then I believe when I hit the, to see where they're at, I believe we have Alan Jackson on a cross-examination right now. So I want to know all your thoughts, hopes, dreams, and opinions in the chat. Or if you're in the comment section on the replay crew, make sure you put your disco ball emoji. If you don't have a disco ball emoji, feel free to put a shamrock so I know you're watching on the replay crew. All right, you guys. So let's start watching and seeing what Jen McCabe has for us today.
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car.
Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.
All right.
John's boyfriend, Karen Read, killed him.
All right, that's one take that we have there. All right, let me share my screen. Give me a thumbs up in the live chat as soon as you hear the audio on this. This is I'm getting up early for court, you guys. I am not a morning person, yet here we are. So we got Judge Bev on the stand. She's got fresh bangs, somewhat of a fresh blowout, okay? That looks a little bit of blow-dried hair. And we got our court reporter and Jen McCabe hopping up on the stand for day 7, but day 2 of her testimony.
I'll remind you, you're still under oath.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. McCabe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before you take us back to Fairview Road, I want to ask you a couple of questions about John's house at Meadows. Are you familiar with his house?
Yes.
Have you seen the front of his house before?
Yes, I have.
Doggo.
Are you familiar with his driveway?
Yes.
Are you familiar with whether there's any surveillance system at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, Elia. I'm going to speed it up to about 1.2.
Ms. McCabe, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6. Do you recognize that photo?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
That's John O'Keefe's house.
Can we provide Exhibit 6?
Thanks,
please? that screen, is that Mr. O'Keefe's home?
Yes.
The screen was then marked as Exhibit 8. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Naomi.
And what is it?
That is the side of Mr. O'Keefe's house, the 2 garage doors.
Is there any indication of surveillance?
Looks, is this a Ring camera right here? Looks,
Is that what John O'Keefe's side of his house looks like?
yes.
I want to show you Exhibit 10. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the driveway at John O'Keefe's.
See a car to the left?
Yes.
Do you know whose car that is?
Yes, that's Miss Reed's.
Is that where you left it the night before? Those early morning hours when you drove to Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
I want to show you it's been marked as Exhibit 11. Do you recognize what's in that photo?
Yes, Miss Reed's vehicle.
Is that the vehicle that Ms. Reed showed you with the broken missing taillight that morning?
Yes, it is.
You mentioned earlier in the night, you spoke to John O'Keefe when you called him or he called you about directions to Fairview Road.
Yes.
And you also shared that you had a phone conversation offering directions.
Yes, I did.
Did you tell John that the house at Fairview was near Bella's mom's house?
Sustained as to form, Mr. Brennan.
What did you tell John as far as directions to Fairview? How did you mark it for him?
I told him to go by, past Bella's house, the Bella Street. And
Oh shit, we already have a reference to Bella's Street, and we had a reference yesterday to Bella's mom has got it going on as a potential lady that John, according to them, they were kind of, Karen is already in a state of distress. Her boyfriend is missing. She's got Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe with her. They're searching for him in the early morning hours after they were out drinking and driving together in Canton. And they mentioned this Bella's mom. Maybe he's at Bella's mom's house. And now they're laying the scene. Jen McCabe is laying the scene in her testimony that Bella's house was mentioned as Karen Read and John O'Keefe were heading over to 34 Fairview, Brian Albert's house. Very interesting. As they were getting directions heading over there after the bar, after being out at the Waterfall. Oh, Bella's mom, Digital. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the chat. Digital Carnival says, Jolene, what do you think about what she wears today, Jen McCabe? I think Jen McCabe is looking so fresh and so clean. She's looking beautiful. This trial, there was definitely a makeover that happened, blowout. We got lighter hair. We got sun-kissed skin. We got this nice periwinkle color. Yesterday, she was wearing a Buffy the Vampire Slayer sized crucifix on her chest to keep away clearly the vampires so she could talk about taking the kids to CCD. So here we are. We're already into Bella Street, Bella's mom.
then to follow it down to the end.
Thank you for the question, Digital.
Now I want you to take us back where we were yesterday when we left off. You had brought us to Fairview Road. You had found John.
Yes.
You shared with us that you were trying chest compressions. Before the chest compressions, did you make a phone call?
I called 911.
I'd like to move to introduce a copy of that 911 call.
Do you have something physically to? Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin does.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to hear the 911 call. Starting off with the 911 call.
With the court's permission, I'd like to play Exhibit 45.
Yes.
No, please scroll up on it.
Yes, I need someone from the third floor Fairview Road to get back the baby and tap out in the snow.
You can't pull up because you can't do snow. You can't do snow, okay?
Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
You have to tell us about the line.
I'm 15 days, like, even in that area in 15, okay?
I'm trying to tell us, just again.
Okay. I know. Where's the budget? I don't think like the parents.
911, what's your emergency?
I need someone to talk immediately to third floor Fairview Road.
Okay, I am going to put my earbuds on for this. I'm going to put an earbud, whatever they're called, earbud. You guys, if you have headphones, if you're not already using them, use it because this audio is pretty crappy. I'm going to rewind it just a bit so I can hear this full 911 call that they're playing. And this is the call of Jen McCabe calling 911 when they found John O'Keefe's body near the flagpole at 34 Fairview, Brian Albert's front yard of his house.
45.
Yes.
Okay, so here
No, this is Portola Ave.
Yes, I need someone to come to third floor, third floor, Fairview Road, in Canton, Mass. There's a man passed out in the snow.
You can't pull up, but you can't really stop. You can't get to know, okay?
Yeah, no, I did that.
You have to tell us, let's stay on.
I could keep going, like, you guys got here in 60, okay?
I'm trying to tell on, just a second.
Okay. I know. Where's the market? I don't keep going to Karen.
911, what's your emergency?
I need someone to come immediately to third floor, Fairview Road, Canton, Mass.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
Is it snow? 34?
Yes, third floor, the Alpha resident, yes. I just pulled up and found it.
Okay, 34 Fairview?
Third floor, Fairview, Canton, Mass, yes.
911, that's on your board, where's your emergency? Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry, can you come to 34 Fairview Road in Houston?
34 Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay, what else?
He's gonna get here, okay?
Okay, what's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
That's his girlfriend, his name is Jolene.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46, how long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and it could have been a couple of hours. Is he Carrie? Is he? I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to it could be body and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try to ask him? I know it's tough, but we gotta get the fire department going. I just gotta know.
Okay. Is he breathing, you guys? It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to test CPR?
Yes, he's got to do CPR. No, I guess he's gone.
Okay, they don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think he's passed away.
Okay.
Okay, so the audio of this 911 call is quite horrific. It's just bad quality, obviously the 911 call itself too. And it's Jen McCabe saying that there's a man in the snow and he's 46, John O'Keefe. She's also talking about CPR and advising them to stop CPR, I believe. The 911 operator is saying that. And she's saying, I think he passed away. I think he passed away. He's gone. And that she's already done CPR. Thank you, Andrea. I'm so glad you're catching me live too. And thank you for being a member. And Andrea, thank you so much for the first super sticker, super chat of the live. Appreciate you very much.
Okay. All right, we have the fire department and the police department on the way. If everyone's declining CPR, then I'll hang up with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys upside?
I'm right up front. I know, I'm on the phone with the Andrews. I know. Carrie, you gotta get off of me. Carrie, you gotta get off of him.
Okay, Jen McCabe is advising that Carrie get off of him, which is interesting because Jen McCabe previously testified, I think yesterday, that it was Karen who's hysterical and jumped on top of John O'Keefe, lifted her shirt up and tried to warm him with her body. And now we have Carrie on him. Okay.
You know if there's any alcohol or drugs involved?
He been out, so he's been out.
They've been out drinking?
Yes, I'm talking hours ago, maybe, and I don't know how long he's been in the snow.
Okay, is there any bleeding or anything? Maybe his head out?
Yes, possibly, I think he's bleeding in the face.
Okay, bleeding from the face, all right.
Yeah.
And how big the pool of blood is?
Jen McCabe says, is there any bleeding? Jen McCabe says, yeah, there's bleeding from the face.
If there is any.
Something's coming out the nose, and one of the women is doing CPR.
Okay, one of them is doing CPR?
Yes, they're both working on him.
All right, if you want CPR, and just let me, just give us a call back if it becomes response, all right, but we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McCabe, describe.
Okay. So hopefully, sorry if you guys couldn't really make out the 911 call. I know there are other places you can go and listen to the full 911 call or the 911 call they also provided from the first trial. Thank you, Dog Mom Laura says, thank you, Jolene. I think she's guilty. Why leave the scene? Thank you. I appreciate your super chat and your thoughts on the case. All right, let's see what Hanky Panky is going to be talking to Jen McCabe about now.
Ms. McCabe, describe your mental state when you were speaking to 911.
I guess the best way to describe it was I was in shock. My heart was racing. I was trying to be as helpful as I could and get the information to the most important information out as quick as I could to the 911 operators. But also the scene there with Karen and Kerry was a bit chaotic between the two of them. So I was just trying my best to be as calm as I could, to get help there as fast as I could, and to answer their questions the best that I could.
Before you told the 911 operator John O'Keefe's name and his age, you said there's a man in the snow. Do you know why you chose those words?
I think I just wanted to get out the most specific details. So a man in the snow.
So that's a new question, obviously, because since the first trial, Jen McCabe was criticized quite a bit for, or people were questioning, I should say, in criticism of why she would say, there's a man in the snow, and not say, hey, there's John O'Keefe. He's a Boston police officer. He's a Canton police officer. Get out here. Why she would just say this, or not my friend, or something, you know? So now they definitely know that the public has been wondering about that. So Hanky Panky is making sure to get that question out.
Now, verse, John O'Keefe and into a story. I think I just was get the details to them as fast as possible, to get help there to him as fast as possible.
When you told the 911 operator that your friend John O'Keefe was the person lying in the snow, how did you know his age?
We used to joke because he was a couple months older than me. So I would, say, oh, you're older than me. It was a silly little thing between friends.
When you called the 911 operator, had Kerry and the defendant already been around or near John?
Yes.
Do you know if they had begun trying CPR before you called 911?
I'm not sure if they had, because Karen had straddled him and was lifted her shirt, was warming him up. And then Kerry was yelling at her to get off. And I think when Kerry got the blankets and was trying to put him under John, I think as she started to move him and wipe him, blood started to come out. And then Karen was afraid that he was going to choke on his blood and wanted to move him on his side. But then Kerry was yelling at her, we can't move him. And this was kind of all going on while I was talking to 911.
You described what you saw, and you said at some point he was bleeding from the face area. Was that before or after he was moved?
After.
Before he was moved, did you see any active bleeding?
No.
So only when he was moved did they see bleeding. She said they moved him, which she told
After
the
you called
911
911,
operator.
what do you do next?
I think I called my sister and she didn't answer. And then I think I called her as I was walking over to John and she didn't answer. And then I immediately got down on the ground and Kerry Roberts asked me to take over.
How long did you try to help John for?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
How long were you and the defendant and Ms. Roberts there before someone else arrived?
Police officer was the first to arrive. In the moments, it seemed like a long time, but I think it was fairly quick that they arrived.
Any point during the time when you tried to help Mr. O'Keefe and the first police officer arrived, at any point did you see any signs of life from Mr. O'Keefe? When the police officer first arrived, do you remember what happened next?
I remember it was very chaotic, but there was talk about a spotlight. And I remember, I think I got up and ran to kind of wave the to get the police officer's attention. We could see where we were.
And then what happens?
The police officer, not sure specific. I do remember him asking about John. I think he said, is he a drug user? He was just asking some basic questions.
And what's the environment? What's going on around you?
Karen's just running around crazy, like just yelling, screaming, kind of like a ping pong.
What are you trying to do?
I was just trying to talk to the officer. I guess I just went into this like.
The words they use are always very interesting because it's not like distraught. You know, she's crazy. She was running around like a ping pong crazy. I saw her running around like a ping pong. She was running around the car like a ping pong. She's crazy. She's hysterical. Not that like she's literally looking at her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, in the snow, possibly dead, unresponsive, cold. And they're like, oh, she's crazy. She's running around so crazy. We wanted to go to Dunkin' Donuts. Instead of just being like, she was distraught, obviously, like anyone would be.
Like type of mode of, all right, I have to just talk to him, get the information out, figure out like how we can best help John and like what happened to him and try to save him ultimately.
And what happens next?
More officers begin to come, fire and EMT. So the scene becomes active with a lot of different presence. You know, John, I think they lift John onto a board at one point. The officers are asking us questions. Karen's kind of coming over, talking to the questions, and then kind of just running away. And then she just runs back over. She's doing a lot of screaming, a lot of repetitive, is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? You know, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Kerry, I think is.
We got the could I hit him? Did I hit him? Even though we do not hear any of that in when the police actually get there from the police cam.
Kerry's off kind of making phone running
3 times
away, and then she just runs back over. She's doing a lot of screaming, a lot of repetitive, is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? You know, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Kerry, I think, Kerry's off kind of making phone calls, I believe, to John's family.
Do you know what time the first responders lifted John from the ground and put him on that bed?
I don't know a time, but it was.
Okay, that's the only question.
Okay.
You heard your 911 call. Do you know the time of that 911 call?
Not off the top of my head, no.
At some point, did you talk to a number of different people at the scene?
Yes.
And who were you talking to?
The first officer was Officer Saraf. I know I spoke with him. I spoke with an Officer Lank, an Officer Good. There were other officers. I don't remember their names. There were EMTs. I don't remember their names either.
You have lived in this area for a long time?
Yes.
Active in the community?
Yes.
Did you know Sergeant Good from before that night?
I knew of him. I didn't know him personally.
Did you know Detective Lank?
Yes, I knew him.
How did you know him?
We were friendly.
Do children ever associate with each other?
Not until recently.
After you had a chance to speak to some of the officers, did you move around at all yourself?
Yes, I kind of, the officers would talk to us here and then a little bit over to the side. I tried to comfort Miss Read. At one point, Miss Read was very upset. And one of the officers thought it would be best if maybe she went and just sat in one of the cruisers for a little bit because she was just doing a lot of screaming and yelling. And I think they were just trying to, work on John and make the scene a little less chaotic. So I went into the back of the car with her, and Kerry Roberts came over. And then we all were just sat in the back of Karen and I kind of were scrunched and sitting in the back, and Kerry was at the door of the cruiser.
Why did you get in the car with the defendant?
She was crying. She asked me to get in. We held hands. We prayed. She did have blood on her hands, and she said, could I have gotten my period? Who's going to take care of the kids? She just kind of was all.
That part of it all is like, always gets me. Like, I got blood on my hands. Could I have had my period? What kind of period? What were you digging? I don't know. I've had my period for a long time. I'm almost on the other end of it, hopefully, where it's going to go away soon. Knock on all the wood. But there's been never a time where I was like, had blood, but like, could I have gotten my period? What? Okay. That part is just like, what?
all over the place on her hands. And she said, could I have gotten my period?
Has any woman ever said that from like running around fully clothed? Okay.
Who's going to take care of the kids? She just kind of was all over the place. And then at one point, we saw them moving John
Right, Auburn.
towards the ambulance. And at that point, Miss Read started yelling to Miss Roberts, go check on him. Are they working on him? Is he dead? Is he dead? And at that point, myself and Miss Read got out of the car, and she started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
Oh shit, we got the hose long does it take to die in the cold? I started Googling how long it takes to die in the cold. I also Googled when does Dunkin' Donuts open.
And she started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
When the defendant,
she started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
when the defendant first asked you to Google an inquiry about hypothermia, were you still inside the police cruiser or were you outside?
Outside.
What was the weather? I know it's an obvious question, but how cold was it?
It was very cold, windy. The snow was blowing. As I stated, I have multiple sclerosis. So when I'm out in either extremely hot or cold temperatures, I lose the feeling and sensation in my fingers, which obviously made the Googling very hard for me to do because of my, motor skills.
So when you were outside of the car with the defendant and she had asked you to do a search regarding hypothermia, did you try to do that?
Yes, I did.
Do you know the exact time from your memory? Not from reading or learning, but from your memory. Do you remember the exact time you did that?
No.
Was it after the police came that morning?
Yes.
Had you ever attempted to search about hypothermia any time before that moment, that morning?
No.
Or that day?
No.
That week?
No.
Was this the first time that morning after the defendant asked you to search that you searched that phrase?
Yes, it was.
And did you?
That's weird because obviously 2:27, I think it was, you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2:27 in the morning, which would have been before they went out looking for John O'Keefe, when she got back to her house and her husband was getting a snack and she was up in bed Googling stuff. It showed on her phone that she Googled hose long to die in the cold. But we know that their phone forensics person said that could be because the first window you opened, you guys know. They tried to explain that away, but I'm like, what? Okay. So she's like, nope, never Googled it before. Never.
Ever attempted to search about hypothermia any time before that moment, that morning?
No.
Or that day?
No.
That week?
No.
Was this the first time that morning after the defendant asked you to search that you searched that phrase?
Yes, it was.
And did you complete your search and get a result?
So I don't know what came up because I think as I entered it, I think I misspelled things. And so then I think I tried a second search. And again, I don't think I even paid attention to what came up because we were already on to the next thing. Karen was already moving and screaming about, the next thing to Kerry. Are they working on him? Is he dead?
Did the defendant move somewhere from the point when she first asked you to try to Google about hypothermia to something else?
She was next to me and then I think she took off. Like she kept kind of running off.
And what did you do?
I believe as they were I think I stood there, I believe as they were putting John into the ambulance, I went back kind of to the original spot where we had been talking to the police. And at that point, a new officer might have come because I remember talking to multiple officers there.
At some point, did you go back towards the area of Ms. Roberts' car?
Yes, that's where I'm referring to. Sorry.
At some point, were you with the defendant when she spoke to an officer and a first responder?
Yes.
Do you remember if the first responder was a man or a woman?
I remember there was a woman right next to us. Yes.
Do you remember if that was before or after the defendant asked you to search about hypothermia?
I'd be guessing if I then don't.
Don't guess.
Mm-hmm.
When the defendant was speaking to the first responder, the woman.
Yes, Mystic Panda, that is a great point. This lady testified that she was happy to see John earlier in the night. So why? And Karen, she said, and she clapped at the waterfall. She was like, Hercules, Hercules. So why were they so cold and calling her crazy when she is upset about John? It's a good question. Jules says, oh my God, the phone forensics is 2025 and we're still arguing timestamps aren't completely wrong, are completely wrong. Thank you, Chris CJ. I appreciate that. There's so many questionable things in this trial. It's cuckoo. And I would hope that if I was ever, God forbid, any of us were ever on trial for, being accused of schmurder, that the evidence would prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and there wouldn't be so much reasonable doubt. I mean, we want to find justice for John O'Keefe and John O'Keefe's family, but you also don't want to wrongly convict, someone who didn't do it. You don't want to not have a full investigation, a full unbiased procta when you leaky balloon not. You don't want to have someone who might be innocent go to jail. And if it was us or if it was you, that's what you just think. You're like, oh my God, this investigation, this whole thing is just shady. And now we have Karen Read could lose her life to, in prison. It's just like, this is a lot.
I'd be guessing if I then don't.
Don't guess.
Mm-hmm.
When the defendant was speaking to the first responder, the woman, were you near?
Yes.
Did you hear or do you remember the defendant saying anything to the first responder?
Yes.
What did she say?
She told the first responder, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
When she told the first responder, I hit him, how did you react?
I was startled, kind of like, what are you saying? What are you talking about?
Did you say anything to the defendant?
I think after the second or third time she was saying it, I was like, Karen, like, what are you saying?
Why were you trying to interrupt her?
Because I thought she was just talking crazy. And I'm saying, why is she saying she hit him?
Were you trying to look out for her?
Yeah.
Sustained.
Sustained.
I'll strike it. You can ask it differently.
She's Auntie Bev's, I'm going to let it happen. Go ahead. Sustain. Go ahead, hanky panky.
First responder, the woman, were you near?
Yes. I'd be guessing if I then don't.
Don't guess.
Mm-hmm.
When the defendant was speaking to the first responder, the woman, were you near?
Yes.
Did you hear or do you remember the defendant saying anything to the first responder?
Yes.
What did she say?
She told the first responder, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
When she told the first responder, I hit him, how did you react?
I was startled, kind of like, what are you saying? What are you talking about?
Did you say anything to the defendant?
I think after the second or third time she was saying it, I was like, Karen, like, what are you saying?
Why were you trying to interrupt her?
Because I thought she was just talking crazy. And I'm saying, why is she saying she hit him?
Were you trying to look out for her?
Yeah.
Objection.
I'll strike it. You can ask it differently.
Move to strike, Your Honor.
What was your motivation for trying to interrupt the defendant making the statements to the first responder?
Karen was hysterical, irrational, kind of.
I'll move on.
Oh, okay. I'm going to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
We got a sidebar. She's going to see, Auntie Bev's going to see them at sidebar. Objection. I don't want sidebar. Oh, we have Karen Read kind of wearing a similar color today to Jen McCabe. All right, let's fast forward through this sidebar. We have John O'Keefe's mom there. And we're back. Oh, I love being a little behind because we can skip through the sidebars. And if you're looking for trial coverage without the sidebars, go over to the trial channel. They cut it all out for you.
Yeah. After you made the search at the defendant's request for an inquiry regarding hypothermia, did you have a chance to speak to the officers
said it everywhere,
further?
Susan. Another great point, Susan said, I thought Karen said it back in the car when they were looking for John. So why is she surprised she's saying it now? Good point. Could I have hit him? I hit him. Could I hit him? I hit him. But she's shocked. Karen just couldn't stop saying it. She was just running around going, could I hit him? I think I hit him. Did I hit him? According to these women. Okay, I'm speeding it up.
Yeah.
1.3.
After you made the search at the defendant's request for an inquiry regarding hypothermia, did you have a chance to speak to the officers further?
Yes.
Did they ask you to do anything or go anywhere?
Yes. Officer Lang asked me to go into my sister's house and to wake them up.
And your sister's name again?
My sister, Nicole.
And that is the house you were in the night before?
Yes.
And after you spoke to the officer, they requested you go in to speak to your sister, did you?
Yes.
Was there any directive on what you should speak to your sister about?
No.
After the officers asked you to go into the house, did you?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what door you went through?
Yes, I went through the front door.
Was the door locked?
Yes.
How did you get in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said was it unlocked?
No, I asked if it was locked.
Oh, sorry. It was unlocked.
As you're approaching the house, were there any lights on?
No.
Was it dark?
Yes.
Any sign of any movement inside the house before you went in?
No.
Take us through walking through the front door. What happens?
So I went in the front door. I opened the door. I walked up the stairs into their.
How did you get in? After
All I can think now is the Alanis Morissette song. I went to your house, walked up the stairs. I opened your door without ringing the bell.
asked you to do anything or go anywhere?
Yes.
Officers further did the search at the defendant's request for an inquiry regarding hypothermia. Did you have a chance to speak to the officers further?
Yes.
Did they ask you to do anything or go anywhere?
Yes. Officer Lang asked me to go into my sister's house and to wake them up.
And your sister's name again?
My sister, Nicole.
And that is the house you were in the night before?
Yes.
And after you spoke to the officer, they requested you go in to speak to your sister, did you?
Yes.
Was there any directive on what you should speak to your sister about?
No.
After the officers asked you to go into the house, did you?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what door you went through?
Yes, I went through the front door.
Was the door locked?
Yes.
How did you get in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said was it unlocked?
No, I asked if it was locked.
Oh, sorry. It was unlocked.
As you're approaching the house, were there any lights on?
No.
Was it dark?
Yes.
Any sign of any movement inside the house before you went in?
No.
Take us through walking through the front door. What happens?
So I went in the front door. I opened the door. I walked up the stairs into their hallway, and then I think I knocked on their door.
Bedroom door?
Their bedroom door. And then I opened the door. I went in and I walked over to the bed and I was like, Brian, Nicole, because I was in a position where I felt like the world was going on around me. So much was happening, but I also was aware that I was just about to wake up two people that are sound asleep, and they're going to see me standing over their bed and be startled, wondering, what am I doing here?
It's crazy to me that Brian Albert and Nicole Albert did not wake up when there was a whole crime scene investigation. Like, police are arriving. Obviously, we have paramedics to finding their friend deceased in the front yard, and they don't wake up. If someone was in my front yard and all that was going on, I'd wake up, especially Brian Albert being a former police officer, whatever he was, like, special. I don't know what his exact title was, but I have family members, I have a family member who's a homicide detective, and there is no way he would sleep through this. Like, he is plugged in still after years of being retired. Like, that doesn't leave your head, that doesn't leave your mind. And that I just the noise alone, you'd think he would wake up. The fact that they're still sound asleep, is that not crazy?
So what happens?
So
I passed out drunk. Sorry.
It took a minute or two, and
They're
then
drunk.
Brian woke
That
up and he
explains it,
immediately
AJ.
was like startled and was like, Jennifer, what's going on? What are you doing? And then
Yes, passed out drunk, AJ. Good point. They had so many beverages, but not Jen McCabe. Yesterday, she testified that she's impervious to alcohol. She had drinks, but she felt nothing. Nothing.
I was just about to wake up two people that are sound asleep, and they're going to see me standing over their bed and be startled, wondering, what am I doing here?
So what happens?
So it took a minute or two, and then Brian woke up and he immediately was like startled and was like, Jennifer, what's going on?
Another great point. You guys are killing it in the chat, Otter. A cop has an unlocked front door? No way. If you have family, my uncle from a young age was telling me stories and teaching me things to prevent crime. So, of course, in his own home, he was going to do it. He'd be like, Jolene, when you're walking, carry your keys like this if you need to use it for self-defense. When you're in a parking lot, I remember him telling me, never look like never be going through your purse or your bag, or be paying attention, because that is when he investigated people and interviewed, guys that would, kidnap women or things like that. They would say they would look for women who weren't really paying attention, look for women they thought would be like kind of an easy target, wouldn't fight back. So that's why it's good to kind of know your surroundings, be aware, don't be distracted when you're by yourself, especially at night or getting in your car in a parking lot. Make eye contact with people, things like that. He would tell me these things from a young age to kind of protect me, because that is instinctively in him. But this cop's like, leave the front door open. Who cares? So what? Who cares?
What's going on? What are you doing? But I also was aware that I was just about to wake up two people that are sound asleep, and they're going to see me standing over their bed and be startled, wondering, what am I doing here?
So what happens?
So it took a minute or two, and then Brian woke up, and he immediately was like startled and was like, Jennifer, what's going on? What are you doing? And then I believe I tried the best I could to say what was going on. I think I said, we found John.
You don't need to describe
Okay.
again, but I want to know their reaction and your interaction with your sister and Brian Albert.
They woke up startled and confused.
Did you have a conversation with them?
Yes.
How long was that conversation?
Brief. They got up, got dressed. I spoke to them.
And where did you go and where did they go?
Then all three of us went down the stairs.
The upstairs to the downstairs?
Upstairs to downstairs,
And
yes.
upstairs is the second level, is downstairs the first level?
Yes.
As you come down the stairs, can you see the front door?
Yes.
Is there anybody in the house at that point?
I saw Officer Lank.
In the house?
Yes.
Do you know if he had been invited in?
I have no idea.
When you came down the stairs and saw Officer Lank, where was your sister and Brian Albert?
They were walking with me down the stairs.
And did you see whether or not the officer spoke with your sister and your brother?
He did.
Brother-in-law? I'm sorry.
He did. Yes.
Were you there during that conversation?
No,
How long was that conversation? Do you know?
not sure.
Where did you go when the officer was speaking to your sister and your brother-in-law inside their home?
I was standing at the front doorway, and then my husband, Matt, had just arrived.
What happened next?
I started talking to Matt, and almost immediately Officer Lang came, got Matt, and asked if he could talk to him outside.
At this point, I want to go back and show you some video. Have you seen video in this case before?
Yes.
I'd like to ask the court's permission to display Exhibit 4, and I would like to walk through some of the video.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you kindly put on Exhibit 4.
Okay, so he's going to go through an exhibit. Jules says, I'm a heavy sleeper, so I could see myself not getting up. But Jen went into your room and informed you of what is going on. So Brian Albert knew, and you still didn't go outside of the house? That's just crazy. As a former investigator, you wouldn't go outside of the house and see what's going on in your own front yard? That's hard to believe. And also, yeah, the door is open to all, Otter says. And also, if they have this dog who has a history of attacking people, you leave the door open. I mean, if the door's always open, then surely the door could have been open when John O'Keefe went up to the door. And if he got inside and the dog, who knows? There's just so many possibilities that this investigation failed to look at.
4. I'd like to start at 6:09:57.
Crazy pants, Sandy.
Ms. Gilman, if you could take us to the arrival at Fairview.
He's like, get on with it. We don't need the whole drive up. Poor Miss Gilman. We got slush on the windshield.
Could you stop there, please? Ms. McCabe, do you recognize this scene?
Yes.
Is that morning?
Yes.
The car directly in front of this dash cam, do you know whose vehicle that is?
Kerry Roberts.
On the left, we see somebody with a blue parka or jacket. Do you know who that is?
I believe that's me.
Can you continue to play, please?
Exactly, Joel. He didn't know what was out there. Could have been one of his kids, could have been anything. And he didn't go out.
Can you stop there, please? Does that fairly depict your first interaction with law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you see the flagpole in that video?
Yes.
And is that the area where you found John?
Yes.
I'd like to move forward in the video. If we can move forward to 6:14:45, please. Did you stop there? Can you identify people on that video from right to left, if you can?
I don't know the officer. That's myself. I believe behind me, that's Miss Read.
And this is about, let me get the time correctly. 6:14:47. And do you know where John is at this point?
Are they lifting him to the left?
Could you continue, please, Ms. Gilman? Could you stop there? The person all the way to the left near the flagpole. Do you know who that is?
I believe Carrie Roberts.
And is that the area where John was found?
Yes.
And that's at 6:15 a.m.? If you don't know, that's okay. Do you know what Ms. Roberts was doing at 6:15 a.m.?
My guess is
I don't want you to guess. Just if you
I don't know.
Okay. Now, you're over to the right. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. Continue, please.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Is that Carrie on the left?
Yes.
Stop, please. On the right, do you see yourself?
Yes.
And which person are you?
I'm the one next to the one with the fluorescent yellow.
Is your back to us?
Yes.
To the right in yellow. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
Continue, please. Continue. Stop, please. Do you see the defendant move from the right to the left?
Yes.
Do you see the yellow jacket?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not that's the woman first responder?
I believe so. Yes.
Do you know why the officer moved the defendant over from right to left?
I don't.
Okay, continue, please. Stop. At that part, is there a conversation between the defendant and the first responder?
Yes.
Are you listening?
Yes.
Continue. Stop. Do you see the officer that was with you in the group?
Yes.
Do you see him now turned away from the group speaking to somebody else?
I do.
Continue, please.
Many times, Milo.
Thank you. If you could move ahead to 6:19, please.
Good morning, Leotard.
Is that you, Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Is that Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Stop for a moment. Do you know at which point you went to the officer's car and sat in the back with Ms. Reed?
I believe it's right after this.
Can you continue, please?
Don't forget to smash that like if you haven't already, you guys. Appreciated. The silence. Thanks, Bubco. Hope you have a great day at work.
Is that Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Stop, please. Was it before or after that moment that you sat with the defendant and Ms. Roberts stood outside the car and you prayed?
Oh, they prayed.
I'm not exactly sure from that video.
Was she whispering to herself? Take a listen, guys.
I'm not exactly sure from that video.
That's fine. If we
That was weird. So he asked the question and she's like,
Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
Stop, please. Was it before or after that moment that you sat with the defendant and Ms. Roberts stood outside the car and you prayed?
I'm not.
Sounds like Jen McCabe is saying on the stand, was it before? Interesting.
I'm not exactly sure from that video.
That's fine. If we could move forward to 6:23:40, please.
It was definitely Jen McCabe whispering. I could tell. Did she just glance over at Karen?
Move forward to 6:23:40, please.
Yeah, looks like she gave a little glancy.
At this time, are you still with the defendant behind this car in some spot?
Yes, I am.
Is it during this time, 6:23 and 6:24, you tried to make those searches at the defendant's request?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you can move forward to 6:26:15.
Come on, hanky tanky. Get on with it. Hey, Liz.
Pause, please. Ms. McCabe, did you see anybody returning to Ms. Roberts' car in that area?
Yes.
And who did you see?
I saw myself, and I'm standing outside of the car speaking to Officer Lank. I saw Kerry go up and near her car. I'm not sure if she went into it. And I saw someone walk Miss Reed into the car.
Is it around this time you have a conversation with Mr. Lank?
Yes.
And what does he tell you again around this time?
He's at this point, I think, asking me questions about what had happened. And then soon after, he asks me to go into my sister's house.
Ms. Gilman, if you can fast forward to 6:34:15, please.
Sorry, I got allergies, guys. Interesting that he wouldn't just go into the house. Whose phone is that? God, someone's playing Slotomania.
Stop, please. You described that the house had no lights on. Is that a fair depiction of,
Yes.
the view?
Yes.
Do you see a figure walking up the driveway?
Not on this pause clip, but I did see it. Yes.
Let's play it and see if you can identify.
Yes, I can see myself walking up.
Where are you now?
I'm walking up the path to go up to the stairs into the house.
And this is at the request of Officer Lang?
Yes.
And you described first you went in and woke up your sister and brother-in-law?
Yes.
Could we move forward to 6:39, please?
Right, Rebecca? Sounds like they're playing a slot game. Sounds like when Nana's playing Deuces Wild on her
And do
phone.
you see something happen with the house at that point?
Yes.
And what happens?
Light went on.
I'll note it's 6:39:08. Thank you, Ms. Gilman. After first responders took John and you had gone in your sister's house, what did you do next?
Next, after Officer Lang spoke to my husband, Kerry Roberts, her and I had a conversation. She was going to go pick up John's parents in Braintree. At first, I had told her I would go with her, but then Officer Lang said that one of us had to stay at Fairview to speak to the, I believe it was the state troopers that would be coming.
Did you stay at Fairview?
I did, yes.
What was your mental state at that point?
Again, I was in shock. The best way I can describe it is the feeling of I'm present and everything's going on around me, and I'm just trying to process and make sense of everything.
Did you speak to your sister about what happened?
Yes.
Did you speak to your brother-in-law about what happened?
Yes.
And were they giving you any comfort or support?
Yes, they were being very comforting and supportive.
As you were waiting at Fairview, did anybody else come to the house?
When my husband, Matt, had arrived. A little while later, Julie Albert had arrived. She was dropping something off, and then Brian Sr. called her in.
Is Julie Albert the wife of Chris Albert?
Yes, she is.
And Brian Albert and Chris Albert are brothers?
Correct.
When she arrived, did you talk to her?
Yes.
Were you in a group? Were you talking to people privately?
No, we were all sitting around the kitchen table.
And why were you talking to everybody?
We were trying to figure out what had happened. They were trying to be supportive, trying to help me.
What was your mood?
I was extremely concerned. I was calling Kerry, trying to get updates about John. I was worried about John, his family, about Kaylee.
At that point, did you know whether John was going to live?
I had a very strong, I think deep down I knew that John was gone. But, you know, until you hear it, I think there was that little bit of hope maybe.
Did you speak to anybody but Kerry who was not at the home that morning?
I believe I spoke, Miss Read.
You had a conversation?
Yes, I spoke to her when she was in the ambulance.
Did you speak to her again later that day?
No, I think I texted her asking her for Kerry's number because I didn't have it.
Did you hear back?
No.
Did you ever speak to Miss Read again?
No, I've never spoken to her again.
When you were trying to get information from Kerry and you were in Fairview, did anybody else other than the people you've described arrive at Fairview?
Chris Albert, Brian Higgins showed up, and Chris Albert.
Did you know Brian Higgins?
Dang, Brian Higgins, he showed up quick. He's not even family, and he's over there.
Arrived at Fairview?
Chris Albert, Brian Higgins showed up, and Chris Albert.
Did you know Brian Higgins?
I knew him as a friend of Brian's.
Did you see him at the Waterfall that night before?
Yes, I did.
And after you arrived at Fairview that night, after leaving the Waterfall, was Brian Higgins one of the people there?
Yes.
And did you talk about what had happened in front of Brian Higgins as well?
Yes.
Was there a group discussion?
I wouldn't say discussion. I would just say, like, for instance, someone would ask me a question because everybody this didn't make sense to anybody. No one knew what had happened.
Agreed. And so was there a lot of questions about what you saw and heard?
Yes.
You mentioned earlier that you felt like you were in a state of shock. Did you feel like you were still in that state, or were things changing mentally?
Little by little, as I sat there, I started things started coming back to me that had been said to me earlier.
Did something significant come back to you about what happened earlier or what you heard?
Yes.
And what is that?
When Miss Read stated to myself and the female, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
And did anything else over the course of that morning come back to you about that moment?
Throughout when I was still at Fairview or throughout the day?
Still at Fairview.
I believe that was maybe the main thing. I can't be sure what memories came back.
When you remembered the defendant's statements to the first responder, did you decide to do something with that information?
Yes. Officer Lang had said if I, remembered anything or needed anything before the state, the state police came to give him a call.
Did you?
I did, yes.
And you knew Officer Lang?
I did, yes.
Were you comfortable calling him?
Yes, I was.
Did you tell him the information that you had remembered?
I just asked him to come back to Fairview.
Did he?
He did, yes.
When he came back, did you speak to him?
Yes, I did.
Were you with the group or were you alone?
No, I was with the group.
And did you tell him what you had remembered?
I did, yes.
How long did you stay at Fairview for?
You would think that there would be video of this. There would be some kind of record of this. But no, we just have their recollections. So Lank goes over and talks to them, doesn't record it at all. No police cam, no nothing. There's literally a dead body found. Their friend, John O'Keefe, in Brian Albert's yard. And they knew him. They knew Lank.
I believe somewhere between 11:30. I'm being approximate with my times. Officer Proctor called me from the state police.
Oh no, the leaky balloon knot, no nudes yet guy called.
Do you know how he got your number?
No.
Did you have a discussion with him?
He said he would like to come by and question me. And I'm not sure if he said at your house or if I said I need to go home because I had 4 kids at home that were still sleeping. And, I knew that I had to go home to them and eventually break this, news to them and comfort them. And I knew that was going to be a whole nother situation to deal with.
Did you speak to him on the phone before you went home or
A
after?
quick phone call. I'll see you at my house.
At that point, did you share any information with him?
No, not on the phone.
Did you return home?
I did, yes.
Do you remember about what time that was?
I'm going to say 11:30 or after, approximate.
General?
General, yeah.
Okay. When you got back home, did you have a meeting or speak with Mr. Proctor?
I did, yes.
Was it a phone call or an in-person conversation?
He came into my house with Officer Buchanan.
Okay. Him and Trooper Buchanan came in?
Yes.
Was there anybody else at your home?
My husband was home and my brother-in-law, Brian Albert, came over.
Did you speak to them?
Yes.
Did you tell them any additional information at that point?
The troopers or?
The troopers.
Yes. I know I had said what Karen had said to me, and then she had said I hit him. Could I have hit him? I told them how she showed up at my house. I just basically gave them the events of that morning.
At that point, did you mention anything about the defendant's broken taillight?
At that conversation, no.
Did they leave?
They did leave, yes.
At some point, did they reach out to you again, or did you reach out to them?
At some point, I had another conversation with them a few hours later. I'm not sure if they called me or if I called them.
Do you know what generally the content of that conversation was?
Yes, I had remembered that Karen had told me about her taillight.
As you're processing that morning, are you trying to think and recreate the event, or are you trying to put it out of your mind?
I couldn't get it out of my mind.
While you were at home, did you receive any updates from anybody, Kerry Roberts or anybody about John?
Yes, when I was still at the Alberts, Kerry had given me word that, John had passed. Then once I got home, I know different friends who were starting to hear.
Without content, were you receiving contacts, calls, text
Yes.
messages from other people?
Yes.
And were you reaching back out to other people?
Some, yes.
At some point, did you go over to Meadows Road?
On Sunday, I did, yes.
Was Sunday the next day?
Yes, it was.
Why did you go over to Meadows?
Carrie and I went over with my daughter and her daughter to see the family and to offer support and
said
our sympathy.
You said you and Kerry. How did you get there?
Carrie picked me up.
Prior to that evening, you and Kerry, you described, weren't friends or familiar?
Correct.
Were things changing?
Yes, rapidly.
When she picked you up, who else did she pick up with you?
My daughter, who was Kaylee's friend.
And was anybody else, or any of Miss Roberts' family in the car?
Yes, her daughter was in the car as well.
So it was you, Miss Roberts, and your 2 daughters?
Yes.
You said you went to Meadows.
Yes.
Why did you go there?
To offer our condolences, sympathy, support, to be with the family. I love them.
Were they staying at Meadows?
They were at Meadows, yes.
When you went there that next day, can you describe the traffic and the people that were there?
There was a house full of family, friends, coworkers, loved ones. The car repairman, like anyone and everyone.
Did you ever see the defendant?
No.
While you're at the house, did you have a chance to speak to Miss O'Keefe?
Yes, I did.
At some point that day, did you leave the house?
Yes.
Who did you leave with?
Kerry and my daughter stayed to be with Kaylee. We left with her daughter.
Where did you go?
We were heading home, but then we ended up dropping off her daughter at her friend's house.
Now, who's her daughter? Don't give me a name. Kerry's daughter?
Kerry's daughter, yes.
And was Kerry's daughter friends with any of the Lanks?
Yes, Kerry's daughter's good friends with Mike Lank's daughter.
When Miss Roberts drove over to Mr. and Mrs. Lank's house, did you meet anybody?
Dang, Carrie's daughter's good friends with Mike Lank's daughter, the officer who told her to go into her sister and Brian Albert's home, wake them up, and then also did some investigating, some talking to them, but we have no record of this, just their retelling of it. Interesting. Yes. Hi, Dave. We got all the fur babies are awake now. wondering what mom is doing awake this early.
Yes, her daughter, Carrie's daughter, went in the house, and Mrs. Lank came out. Her and Carrie are very good friends, so she came out to offer support and condolences.
Was it still cold outside?
Damn, so Carrie
Yes, it
is
was freezing.
also really good friends with Officer Troop, whatever his name is, Lank's wife. Oh my God. All right, come here.
When she was offering her support, was she inside or outside of the car?
So
She
messy.
jumped into the back seat.
During that time you spent with Officer Lank's wife, did you ever go into the house?
She is.
I have a faint memory. I think I went in and used the bathroom at one point.
When you were having a conversation with Mr. Lank's wife, were you talking about what had happened?
Yes, Carrie was just explaining the morning, the phone calls, the scene, things like that.
Were you trying to get any type of inside information or push the investigation in any particular direction?
No, I didn't speak much. It was mostly Carrie and Trish was just being a supportive friend to Carrie.
Oh, so it's Carrie. Jen McCabe is really pushing stuff off on Carrie. Jen McCabe's like, no, I was just trying to keep everybody in line, just trying to provide support. Carrie and obviously Karen Read are crazy. They were, they were all over the place, mostly Karen. I was just there for moral support. Yes, Otter, that's why we call my white dog, you guys just saw Buffy the Anxiety Slayer. Also, she's going to get groomed this morning in about 45 minutes. She's got her grooming appointment, so we'll see her. We'll probably still be live when she gets back from her grooming appointment. So we'll see before and after. The car repair guy, yes, this is so messy. LXU says everybody's friend. Kiki says one big happy family. They all know each other. And now, the first trial we have Jen McCabe, who is, we get a very different Jen McCabe. The people saw her as more kind of, the leader, a little bossy or assertive, if you want to say. And now maybe a little harsher, more aggressive. And now we get the lighter, brighter Jen McCabe, lighter hair, sun-kissed skin, not wearing any black. We got light colors. She's wearing a ginormous crucifix to ward off the vampire slayers. We got CCD mom, Jen McCabe.
Carrie.
At some point, did you get together with Miss Roberts and try to memorialize what you had saw or thought that morning?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Peg had asked Carrie to do a timeline. So Carrie came over and we were sitting down talking about it. And so my sister was there.
And this is what Carrie talked about during her testimony. The first week of the trial, the first week of the retrial, is her and Jen coming up with the timeline in which we learned that Carrie Roberts may have perjured herself when she said, oh, yes, I heard this. I was there and witnessed it, but really she had heard it just from the timeline she made with Jen McCabe.
And she said that she to do
Try to memorialize what you had saw or
Memorialize.
thought that morning?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Peg had asked Carrie to do a timeline. So Carrie came over and we were sitting down talking about it. And so my sister was there and she said that she would jot it down for us.
So when you got together, it was at the request of Mrs. O'Keefe?
Yes.
When she made that request of you, asked you to do that, did you question why?
No, she wanted us to do it, so I did it.
Why?
She wanted us to remember and try to jot down everything we remembered so we wouldn't forget.
I'm going to sustain this twitch.
Did you speak to officers further in the future?
Yes.
Can you count how many times you spoke with police or the interviews you had?
There were a lot, or a good amount, I should say.
At some point, did any of the police officers ask if they could take your phone and copy everything on it?
Yes.
Did you have any hesitation about that?
Objection.
Ask it differently. Objection.
Were you cooperative?
Yes.
Why?
I wanted to help in any way I could.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I approach? You may. Just don't touch my bangs.
Handing you a piece of paper. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
That's my signature.
Do you know what that document is?
Yes, it's the consent form that I signed from my phone.
I can introduce this as an exhibit.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, we can deal with it sidebar. I have no objection to the identification of it.
Okay, I'll see you.
See you at sidebar. Okay, we're going to fast forward a little through sidebar. Jewel says the way Lolly structured the trial last time, it was a telenovela. It was so juicy and totally unintentional from Lolly. He is as interesting as drywall. Yeah, Hank Brennan seems to move it along quicker than Lolly did. Hanky panky. Thank you.
After that day when you met with Miss Roberts, and you try to memorialize your memory about what had happened, after that date, have you discussed what happened that morning with other people?
Yes.
And have you discussed it with police over time?
Yes.
I have no further questions at this time.
Good morning, Ms. McCabe.
Good morning.
When was the last time you spoke with Carrie Roberts before your testimony today?
She called me last night.
We're here. We're here. We're here on the cross. We got the Alan Jackson cross-examination. We're waiting for this. It's going to wake us all up. All right, let's play a little intro for the Alan Jackson. We'll do a Jen. Yesterday's Jen.
Jen!
Because I had like bread and maybe peanut butter in my car.
Why did you have bread and peanut butter in your car?
I had my niece for the week, and I was dragging her like to all my kids' sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
And they were making fun of you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the hell?
Sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. All right, let's go, Alan Jackson.
What did y'all discuss? Last time you spoke. Good morning, Ms. McCabe.
Good morning.
When was the last time you spoke with Carrie Roberts before your testimony today?
She called me last night.
What did y'all discuss?
She asked if my daughters were going to be staying home from school today because her daughter would possibly join them.
Did you discuss anything having to do with your testimony?
Not my testimony, no.
Did you discuss anything in that conversation with her prior testimony?
No.
Are you aware that she testified last week?
Yes.
Did you discuss anything after that, after she testified with her about her testimony?
No.
We know that through her testimony that you had a conversation with her the morning that she testified.
Yes.
Right? Did you discuss what you anticipated to be her testimony in that conversation before she testified?
No.
Have you and Ms. Roberts ever discussed anything about either one of your testimonies, either in the last proceeding or in anticipation of this proceeding?
No.
So for the entirety of the last year, even though you both went through a proceeding last year where you both testified under oath and it was highly, highly publicized, neither one of you, your good friend Carrie Roberts and you, have ever discussed
good friend Carrie
either
Roberts
of your testimonies between that time and this time.
No, we've discussed the case and we've discussed what happened that moment, the moments of the morning, but we have not discussed testimony.
Okay, so let's break that down for a second. I'm talking about, because the timing matters. I'm just asking at this point, if you'll bear with me, just the year from last year at a different proceeding to this year, you have discussed this case.
Yes.
With Ms. Roberts.
Many times, yes.
And you discussed the specifics of her memory, which would be reflected in her testimony, correct?
We talked about what happened that morning.
So you were talking about what she remembers happening that morning, correct?
No, what happened that morning.
Okay, so not to put too fine a point on it, Ms. McCabe, but if you asked me what I had for dinner last night, it's my memory of what I had for dinner last night. Would you agree with that?
Sustained.
Did you talk about her perception of what happened that morning during the last year?
We've talked about what has happened, yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to break it down between you and Ms. Roberts. You've discussed her perceptions and her memory of what happened, as well as, and separate apart from, your memory and your perceptions, correct?
Correct.
So there have been circumstances in which you and Ms. Roberts have compared, by definition, what she remembers versus what you remember, correct?
I wouldn't say compare.
Now let's move to
She wouldn't say
well, what would you say in terms of what you've discussed and why?
I would say that we've both talked about what we've discussed, but it wasn't like a comparison. We weren't comparing anything.
You've talked about what you discussed. What does that mean? Talked about your testimony?
No, we've discussed what happened that moment,
Right.
and in those moments.
Oh, we're already getting a little agitation. We got very calm, zen, CCD mom, Jen McCabe, and Alan Jackson's already getting on her nerves.
And so, when I got a phone call, and that's my story, I got a phone call in the morning, and then Carrie can say, yeah, I got a phone call as well.
As you said, that's your story, correct?
Not my story. It's
Those
the
were
truth.
yours.
It's the truth.
Okay. So for instance, when you got a phone call at 4:53 in the morning, Carrie Roberts wasn't there, correct?
Correct.
But you've discussed that with her.
Correct.
And you've told her what your perception of that, your memory of that phone call was, even though she was not recipient to and did not witness that phone call, correct?
I've told her about the phone call, correct.
As well as many other details that she was not privy to personally, correct?
Correct.
Conversations that you've had, for instance, conversations that you claim you've had with Miss Reed, correct?
Correct.
And you've told her what your perception is of those conversations, or your memory was or is of those conversations with Miss Reed, correct?
Which conversations with Miss
Any
Reed?
conversations, just anything that she wasn't privy to. You've discussed that with her.
Some things, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And conversely, Ms. McCabe, obviously, she's also discussed certain perceptions and memories that she has about this case and the facts of this case, as she recalls them, that you were not necessarily privy to, correct?
Yes,
Things that may have taken place outside your presence, correct?
correct.
And you've talked about things, she's talked to you about things, now I'm getting myself confused. Y'all have talked about things that were outside of her perception and outside of your perception, and you've shared those with each other.
We've shared our experiences.
Right at the
We've
jury.
become very close. We both lived through a traumatic experience.
How many times would you say you and Ms. Roberts have discussed your individual perceptions of what you remember happening on the 28th or the 29th of January 2022? How many times?
It would be hard to put a number on that. We talk about, it's hard. We're bonded. We talk about the trauma that we relive every day. Karen called us for help and we both answered the phone.
And that bonding is the glue that holds you two together. Is this case, correct?
Yes,
So that probably,
Police siren.
by definition, is the foundation of many, many, many of your conversations. Would you agree?
we've grown into friends where we talk about many other things
Sure.
besides the case.
Sure, the movie you saw last weekend and what the kids are doing next week.
Yes, and yes, absolutely. We
Okay,
talk
so-
many different things, just like girlfriends do.
I'm just concerned with and asking you about the subject matter of this case and the details and the facts of this case. You two have probably talked hundreds of times, that's fair to say, about your individual perceptions, your respective perceptions of this case, correct?
This happened 3 years ago and we've talked about it time and time again. This case has traumatized us. So
And
it's a huge
talking
part of our lives.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe it just, I meant traumatized our lives.
Okay. It would be impossible for you two to have had so many conversations about your respective perceptions of the details of that day without that influencing the other person, correct? You've somehow been influenced by Ms. Roberts's perceptions and her memories, correct?
I don't think I would say influenced.
Would you say that she's been influenced by your perceptions and your memories?
Objection.
Would you say that, Ms. McCabe?
No, I wouldn't.
Next question.
How many times have you met with anybody from the DA's office? And I'm just going to limit the time frame right now in anticipation of your appearance in this trial yesterday and today.
I'd say roughly 4 or 5.
Can you give me a time frame when those 4 or 5 meetings were?
I don't have dates. I do remember at one point I met with Mr. Brennan. He was new to the case. So I went in and he introduced himself.
How long ago was that?
I
Weeks or months?
I can't give you a time frame. I'm sorry.
Do you think it was last summer?
No,
Do you think it was?
no, it was more recent.
Okay.
Yeah,
It wasn't in the fall of last year.
No,
It was in 2025 sometime.
I believe so. Yes.
I think it might have been February, January.
Again, I can't give you an exact. I'm sorry.
All right. I want to talk about the time frames of those conversations, and I'll ask you a little bit more about those conversations. So that was the first meeting that you had was with Mr. Brennan in anticipation of your testimony. What were the subsequent 4 meetings or so that you've had? With whom and approximately what time?
Okay, so another meeting with Mr. Brennan. Are you looking for who was
Sure.
there?
Who else was there?
I mean, can I give you a general answer? I didn't write down like every meeting who was there, but
Of course.
generally. Okay.
Was Mr. Lally there?
During 1 or 2 of the meetings, he was, yes.
Was Ms. McLaughlin there?
Yes.
Was there anybody else from the DA's office there?
The officer or Trooper Tully was there at 1. Trooper Buchanan was there at 1. The witness advocates were there. And again, give or take the particular meeting.
Those are 2 meetings that you've talked about with Mr. Brennan and others. What about the third meeting?
No, I'm sorry. I was lumping a few of them together.
Sure, understood.
I apologize.
How many meetings would you have? Let's just start there. How many meetings have you had with Mr. Brennan and either staff or colleagues?
So after the first initial meeting, I would say, again, I didn't write them down off the top of my head. I can think of 2 or 3 more after that.
Okay.
Excuse me, first initial one.
So that's either 4 or 5 meetings with Mr. Brennan and some combination of his colleagues, Mr. Lally, Ms. McLaughlin, perhaps, Mr. Nelson, perhaps, the other employee of the DA's office, and Troopers Buchanan and Trooper Tully.
Correct.
You asked questions about at any of these meetings. I'm just going to lump them all together. Any of these 5 meetings. By the way, when was most recent?
Last night, I had a Zoom call. In regards, I think the court asked them to.
Yes, I'm going to stop you right there.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to ask a different question, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to lead you through this question.
Okay.
You had a conversation last night. I'm not interested in that particular conversation. That was for a very specific purpose. I'm asking you about everything leading up to, but not including last night's conversation, okay?
Okay.
So let's just leave that one out. You've had, I think you mentioned either 4 or 5 other meetings with Mr. Brennan and some combination of his colleagues and or law enforcement.
Yeah, and I might have, in the 5, included that one from last night.
Okay, fair enough. Were you asked questions in those, we're just going to call it 4 meetings. Were you asked questions during those 4 meetings about your testimony at the first proceeding last year?
I reviewed I did review some of my testimony, yes.
In what format? Paper transcript or?
No, we just watched a little bit of it.
Do you watch your direct examination?
A little bit, yes.
Did you watch your cross-examination?
A little, yes.
Who cross-examined you?
You did.
That was me.
Yes.
And did you watch the redirect or any part of it?
No.
Did you watch any part of any subsequent version of recross or additional questions that you were asked?
I don't believe so, no.
Was there a specific area that Mr. Brennan asked you to look at and review in terms of your direct or your cross-examination?
No.
Did you watch the entirety of the direct examination and the entirety of the cross-examination?
I do not believe so, no.
Were you questioned by Mr. Brennan following your review of that direct and cross-examination?
No.
So he didn't ask you any questions about any of your answers?
He showed me dash cam and would ask me to point out who's this, who's that, waterfall video, is this you, is this somebody? Those were the type of questions that he asked me.
What about any discussion about your demeanor and how you performed in the last proceeding? Objection.
Sustained.
I'll ask it a different way. What about your demeanor? I'm using probably a poor word, perform.
Mm-hmm.
How you came across your demeanor in the last proceeding? Objection.
Sustained.
Did you discuss changing your demeanor in any way, shape, form, or fashion from the last trial to, the last proceeding to this trial? My mistake.
Because you're very different, Jen.
Was your demeanor ever discussed?
No, I was just told to slow down, answer the question, and answer it to the best of my memory.
Was there any discussion about talking about your background, for instance, your family and your children, and being a sports mom, as you talked about in your direct examination?
Sports mom.
No, I believe I did that in the previous one as well.
Was there any discussion about crafting your testimony in any way to suggest a softer approach?
No.
Was there any discussion about how to develop your testimony from beginning to end?
Sustained.
Did Mr. Brennan ask you about, or let me ask it a different way. Did Mr. Brennan take you through a series of questions, for instance, as almost a test run of questions that you might be asked either on direct examination or cross-examination?
No.
Did you practice your testimony with any member of the DA's office?
No.
Were there any sessions where you sat and were subjected to a cross-examination, like a fake cross-examination or a fake direct examination?
No, there
Anything
wasn't.
like that?
No.
What were the things that stand out in your mind? You said you had at least 4 meetings. How long was each meeting, by the way, ish?
The first meeting, I think, was fairly quick. It It was just the introduction.
30 minutes, less than 30 minutes?
I don't want to give a time because I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it was fairly quick, yes.
Okay. What about the second meeting?
Again, I don't know specific meetings, but I can tell you that there was a longer one where I did watch some dash cam video, look at different pictures, things like that.
What kind of pictures did you look at? Other than the dash cam video?
The pictures of John's house.
Okay. The same photos that we saw today?
Yes.
How long in total would you say all of those meetings were? Just taking them all together.
I really can't give you an estimate. I think the first one was fairly quick.
Bye, Buffy. Have fun at the groomer. Everyone say bye to Buffy, the anxiety slayer.
They massage my anal glands too hard.
Make sure you have to ask him to brush the teeth. Hi. And little bows. She loves her bows. All right. Everyone say bye, Buffy. All right. Back at it.
The second one can't give you I really can't give you an estimate. I think the first one was fairly quick. The second one, one of them was a little bit longer, maybe a couple hours.
Okay. Then the third one, was that also a couple hours, or was that one fairly quick?
That was fairly quick, yes.
So fair to say between 2, 3, 4 hours total meeting times?
Again, I'd have to probably go back and look at the date and the time. I really can't give you a specific amount of time. I apologize.
Did Trooper Tully or Trooper Buchanan ask you any questions during the course of any of these meetings?
Regarding the case, no, but we did briefly talk about how my kids were, how their kids were.
But they didn't ask you any questions about your testimony, about your about the case, about your memories, about specific facts?
I do not believe so, no.
During any of these meetings, was anybody taking notes? Ms. McLaughlin, Mr. Lally, Mr. Brennan, any of the troopers?
No, I don't believe so.
So there was several hours worth of meetings with you, and nobody scribed any notes that you saw?
None that I saw, no.
And these meetings were not recorded?
I do not believe so, no.
Ms. McCabe, I'm going to ask you a series of questions about your family because I just want to make sure it's crystal clear who's who. You're married to Matt McCabe, correct?
Yes.
Your sister is Nicole Albert.
Yes.
Nicole is married to Brian Albert.
Yes.
It was Brian Albert's home that you were at 34 Fairview that you arrived at where John's body was found, correct?
Yes.
The same home where that late night gathering was on January 28th going into the morning of the 29th, correct?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself to be close with your sister Nicole and Brian?
Yes, very close.
Your families, it's not just you and Nicole, your whole families are close, correct?
Yes, we have a very close family.
How long have you known Brian Albert?
Since I was in kindergarten.
Oh, wow. Holy crap.
You consider him, even though he is not blood related to you, you consider him family?
Yes.
Take care, Bear.
In addition to Brian and Nicole Albert, you're also very close with Chris and Julie Albert, correct?
Yes.
Just to be clear, and I'm going to do this slowly,
okay.
Brian Albert's younger brother is Chris Albert, correct?
Yes.
Chris Albert is married to Julie Albert.
Yes.
You consider Chris and Julie family, even though there may not be a blood relation as well, correct?
Yes.
Chris Albert is a Canton Select Board member, is that right?
Now he is, yes.
Oh, wow.
And the Canton, that's in Canton? I said Select Board member. Did I mention Canton Select Board member?
It is in Canton,
okay.
Yes.
All right, obviously it's in Canton. The Canton Police Department reports to the Select Board, correct?
I'm not aware.
You're not aware of that echelon?
No.
Okay. You're aware that Brian Albert, your friend of, I'm not going to say how many years, but since kindergarten, was a Boston police officer.
Yes.
He had been a lifetime law enforcement officer for some 30 years before he retired recently, correct?
Yes.
He's a trained first responder, obviously.
Yes.
Brian Albert and Chris Albert have another brother named Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
Kevin Albert is a detective with a police department, correct?
Yes, I believe that's his title.
Holy crap, too many Alberts.
Which police department is Kevin Albert associated with?
Canton.
And you've grown up in Canton your whole life, you indicated?
Yes.
Your entire family has grown up in Canton, correct?
Yes.
And you, Ms. McCabe, have 3 sisters. Nicole, we've talked about. You also have a sister named Shelly, is that right?
Michelle, yes.
Michelle.
Which one's the drunk one?
And Denise, who you mentioned in your direct examination.
Yes.
Oh, the drunk one, Denise.
Nicole is also known by nickname, is that right?
Yes.
What is Nicole's nickname within the family?
Coco.
Does Shelly also have a nickname? Well, I guess Shelly is the
Yeah.
short
Shelly.
name for
With the
Michelle.
Coco.
Yes.
What about Denise?
She's Dee Dee.
Dee Dee?
Yeah. Deedee.
Your father lives close by in a neighboring town, correct?
Yes.
Don't tell me the town, but it's relatively close to Canton.
20 minutes. Yes.
Okay. His name is Tom Weeks.
Yes.
Tom Weeks.
There are, I'm not going to go through all of them right now because the family tree is getting large, but there are children, cousins, second cousins, nephews, aunts, uncles. There's a combination of familial relations within that set of folks that I just talked about, Chris and Brian and Nicole and you and Matt and the folks that we've just talked about.
Yes.
That family, that large family, celebrates holidays together, I'm guessing?
We don't typically, celebrate with Kevin and Chris, but my family does. Yes.
Along with Brian, Albert, and Nicole?
Yes, of course.
Birthdays are celebrated within that family?
Yes.
Go on vacations together, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Gatherings like the one on the 28th?
Yes.
Special events?
Yes.
Spend weekends together?
Yes.
You mentioned a lot of sporting events. There's a lot of sporting events that y'all go to together.
Yes.
So it is very, very easy to see that it's an extremely close-knit family.
Yes.
And naturally, you're very protective of your family, as anybody would be.
Yes, I love my family.
You had also said that you knew, and your words, liked Karen Read, my client, on the 28th of January, 2022, correct?
Yes.
I'm showing it
But
to
she
him.
very much is not family, correct?
Correct.
She certainly was not as important to you as your actual family, the Alberts, the McCabes, the folks associated with them. Is that right?
Yes.
On January 28th, 2022, members of the Albert family and the McCabe family all went to a bar together, had drinks together that night. Waterfall, we've heard a little bit about that, correct?
Correct.
Ultimately, you went back to your sister's house for the after party that we've heard so much about. That was at Brian Albert's house, is that right?
Yes.
You've been interviewed, I think you indicated multiple times, you didn't even give a number of how many times you've been interviewed by police in this case, is that right?
Yes.
Your family is connected to people at Boston Police Department. We've just talked about that, Brian Albert, is that right?
Well, was a Boston police officer.
Right. So when I say connected, there is some familial or family or friendly connection to that police agency, Boston Police Department. It'd be Brian Albert in this case, correct?
The objection sustained.
There's also a connection to the Massachusetts State Police through your family, is that right?
Objection.
So define connection.
Julie and Chris Albert are very, very close to you, right?
I'm close with Julie and Chris. Yes.
You're aware that Michael Proctor's sister, Courtney, is basically best friends with Julie.
No, I'm not aware of that. She's best friends with Julie's sister, Jillian.
Okay, so Courtney's best friends with Jillian, who's sisters to Julie,
Yes.
who's married to Chris, who's an Albert,
Oh my
who's the little
God.
brother of Brian Albert.
Yes.
Okay, and Canton Police Department. There's also some connections there as well. Kevin Albert being the most obvious of them.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department?
Okay, so throughout this, I'll be popping up these little charts. These were made by Court TV and showing kind of who they're talking about, starting with Brian and Nicole Albert, this occurring at their home, their two kids, Caitlin and Brian. Then we go over to Jennifer McCabe as Nicole Albert's sister, her husband, Matt McCabe, their children, and then Brian Albert, Chris Albert, his brother, Julie Albert, Chris's wife, so Brian's sister-in-law, and then Colin Albert, the scraped knuckles, non-violent kid himself, Colin Albert. So I'll be popping that up just to kind of, I need visuals with my ADHD. I need to see it.
There as well, Kevin Albert being the most obvious of them.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department?
Not with the department, but with Kevin Albert.
Right,
What?
who's a member of the department.
Yes, but my relationship's with him.
Understood. You've indicated that you've been interviewed by law enforcement agents associated with Massachusetts State, with Canton Police Department. That'd be Officer Lank.
Yes.
Can I
and
stop
Officer
you for a
Good.
second and see counsel at sidebar, please?
Sure.
Okay, Auntie Bev is like, let me see counsel at sidebar.
Who's a member of the department.
Yes, but my relationship's with him.
Understood. You've indicated that you've been interviewed by law enforcement agents associated with Massachusetts State, with Canton Police Department. That'd be Officer Lank.
Yes.
Can I
and
stop
Officer
you for a
Good.
second and see counsel at sidebar, please?
Sure.
All right, we are going to jump forward. Go through the sidebar. Sidebar. This is a long sidebar.
Please rise for the jury. Jurors, right this way, please, with your notebooks and chairs.
Or are we going for a break? Okay, live court is on a short break. They dismissed the jurors. We are behind, so we can fast forward and jump ahead. So this is their morning break, I assume, unless it could be their lunch. That could have been their lunch, right? Okay. And we're back. Now we're only an hour behind.
Oh, these?
Oh, these old things? Someone's asking Bev about something she's wearing, maybe. Oh, these old things? I only wear them when I don't care what I look like. If you can name that movie. Oh, this old thing? I only wear it when I don't care what I look like. It's a classic. Classic movie. All right.
That we please have, Ms. Jurors, thank you for your patience. Sometimes there are matters that we need to address, and that's
Okay, they had a really long sidebar. Bev is saying, thank you for your patience. Sometimes there's matters that we need to address.
what happened here, so I appreciate your patience. Mr. Jackson, could we please? Jurors, thank you for your patience. Sometimes there are matters that we need to address, and that's what happened here, so I appreciate your patience. Mr. Jackson, could we please have Ms. McCabe back in here? Oh.
We're going to get the lip licker back. Jen McCabe is headed back. Let's give her her proper intro.
Jen! 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 Because I had like bread and maybe peanut butter in my car.
Mr. Jackson, go
Why
right
did you have
ahead.
bread and peanut butter in your car?
I had my niece for the week, and I was dragging her like to all my kids' sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
And they were making fun of you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the hell?
Sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts.
You got it, AJ. It's from It's a Wonderful Life, and Violet says it. Good. AJ wins for the day with the movie quote. All right, we're back in. If you haven't smashed that like, go ahead and do that. We are 14 likes away from hitting 100 likes. So let's try to get there, you guys. I appreciate you.
When last we left off, we were talking a little bit about some of the familial connections that your family has with certain law enforcement agencies. We talked about Boston Police Department, obviously, Brian Albert. We talked a little bit about Massachusetts State Police and knowing friends of friends with regard to Chris and Julie, correct?
Yeah.
Knowing friends of Chris and Julie?
Friends of Chris and Julie.
Is that your relationship?
Bev, knowing friends of Chris and Julie. Is that the English you're saying? Because I only know about a half day. We're going to do a half. It's just a half.
Chris and Julie, correct?
Yeah.
Knowing friends of Chris and Julie?
Friends of Chris and Julie.
Is that your relationship?
With who?
I'd asked you about. I'll ask you a different question.
Okay.
A little bit vague. Courtney Proctor is friends with Julie's sister,
Yes.
and obviously Courtney also knows Julie and Chris, correct?
Sustained.
And there's also a connection to Canton Police Department through Kevin Albert. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you answer that? Is there a connection? Do you have a connection with the Canton Police Department through Kevin Albert?
Not with the police department, but Kevin Albert is Brian Albert's brother.
Right. And Kevin works for whom?
The Canton Police.
Thank you. So you've been interviewed many times by different law enforcement agencies, be they Massachusetts State Police, Canton Police, or otherwise, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Those interviews have not just been over the period of weeks, it's been over the period of weeks and months and even years since this occurred, correct?
Yes.
You were contacted by another law enforcement agency that was not Massachusetts State Police and not Canton Police Department at one point in April of 2023. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I want to talk for a second about that series of interview, or that interview. You were contacted at your residence by these members of this law enforcement agency, correct?
Yes.
All right. Later that same day, you did sit down with those same law enforcement officers for a formal interview.
On
that same day that you were contacted by them, they also went into your home and actually interviewed you, correct?
Yes, it was brief.
All right.
Brief.
Those law enforcement officers identified themselves as being associated with an agency that is not Massachusetts State Police. You understood that?
Yes.
And you understood that they were not involved with Canton Police Department either, correct?
Correct.
Completely separate agency, is that right?
Yes.
During the course of that interview, those officers informed you very specifically, Ms. McCabe, that it is a crime to lie to them, even during an interview, correct?
Yes.
Those law enforcement officers informed you that they were investigating certain circumstances attendant to John O'Keefe's death, correct?
They were very vague on what they were.
Understood.
I don't know what they were investigating.
But you did understand that it was having something to do with your involvement at 34 Fairview on January 28th, 29th, 2022. As a witness or otherwise?
Sustained as to certain terminologies.
Sure. Let me see if I can rephrase that, Ms. McCabe. You were aware of the subject matter of their interview, right? They weren't interviewing about a car you bought last year, correct?
No.
Correct.
They were interviewing you basically about what you're testifying to here, correct?
When I first spoke with them, their conversation was pretty vague.
But the subject matter, vague or specific, was about this subject matter.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. They first contacted you telephonically. Called you on the phone. Is that right?
Telephonically.
Actually, they walked up to my car.
They walked up to your car?
Yes.
Okay, that was the very first introduction, correct?
Yes.
At that point, they had not identified themselves, correct?
They didn't know.
All right, and at that point, you told them that you were not Jennifer McCabe. They asked you who you were, and you said, I'm Nicole.
I thought they were like selling something. So I was like, oh, no, I'm not the homeowner.
Fair enough, fair enough. However, after you said, I'm not Jennifer McCabe, you walked into the house, they then called you on the phone.
Yes.
They were still sitting outside your house.
I don't know where they were, but they did call me.
They were close by.
I'm not aware.
Well, the call came almost immediately after you walked back in the house.
I'm inside the house.
I'm not sure how much time had passed.
Give me an idea. It wasn't an hour. It was
No, it was
5 to 10
soon
minutes.
after. I'm just not sure. I can't tell you where they were located. I'm sorry.
Okay. They told you that they would, at that point, they identified themselves as being law enforcement.
You hear me? It's coming from inside the house.
Okay, you walked into the house. They then called you on the phone.
Yes.
They were still sitting outside your house.
I don't know where they were, but they did call me.
They were close by.
I'm not aware.
Well, the call came almost immediately after you walked back in the house, correct?
I'm not sure how much time had passed.
Give me an idea. It wasn't an hour. It was
No, it was
5 to 10
soon
minutes.
after. I'm just not sure. I can't tell you where they were located. I'm sorry.
Okay. They told you that they would, at that point, they identified themselves as being law enforcement agents, correct?
When they called me, yes.
And they told you at that time that they were not with Canton Police. You knew at least they were not with Canton Police Department. They were not troopers with Massachusetts State Police, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they told you that they would like to have an interview with you. They'd like to have a sit-down talk with you, correct?
Yes.
And you told them that you would be willing to submit to an interview, but you needed about 10 minutes to get ready, correct?
Yes.
You ultimately did allow them into your home, and you did sit down for a formal interview with them, correct?
Yes, brief, but yes.
And it was during that formal interview inside the home that it was explained to you that it would be a crime for you to lie to them on any material issue, correct?
Yes.
During the course of your interview, your husband, Matt McCabe, came home. Is that right?
Yes.
As these law enforcement agents continued to question you, these law enforcement officers continued to question you at some point, you informed them that you did not feel comfortable with any further questioning and you suspended the interview, correct?
Yes.
Before leaving, however, those same law enforcement officers asked you if you had contacted anyone in those 10 minutes when you indicated, I need 10 minutes to get ready, between the time they called you and the time that they showed up and came inside your house, correct?
Yes.
You told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe.
Yes.
Which is why he came home, right?
Yes.
And you told them that you had called Carrie Roberts before they interviewed you, correct? At that moment.
I'm not 100% sure, but if you have it, it seems like something I would do, but if you have it, could show me.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're back to classic Jen McCabe. I don't, you got to show me. Show me the proof. Show me the money. Show me the receipts. May I approach, Your Honor?
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Objection. Taking too long. Sustained. Objection. Ms. McCabe is getting itchy. Overruled. We're all itchy. Poor court reporter.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Here you go, hanky panky.
First, I'm going to ask you, Ms. McCabe, if you recognized that as being a report of that interview, just general. Yes or no?
It appears to be, yes.
May I approach the witness stand and stand on the witness stand for a couple of questions?
Yes.
May I scratch her neck?
I can have that.
Sure.
I want to direct your attention, if I may, for court and counsel, page 3 of 4, starting with the second to the last full paragraph, going into page 5, top full. I'm sorry, page 4, top full paragraph.
Okay.
You could review
What a
those two paragraphs.
beardy
yourself-
Alan Jackson.
yourself, and then look up and let me know when you're finished.
She's a quick reader when she's in the car or at the bar. Come on, Jen. Let's do it. Damn, she's reading a novel.
Okay.
Yes.
Did reviewing those paragraphs refresh your recollection as to whether or not, as to what you told those agents initially? I'm sorry, what you told those officers initially from that other law enforcement agency, that about who you contacted in that 10-minute interval?
Yes, I told them.
And you told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe,
Yes,
and Carrie Roberts.
correct.
I want to stick with that for just a quick second. One of the first calls you made after being contacted by these other law enforcement officers from a different agency, one of the first calls you made was to Carrie Roberts. Is that right?
She was the first one.
That's what I'm asking. One of the first two calls you made, your husband,
Right.
Bad
come home, there's
memory.
law enforcement outside my door. I'm guessing is what you said, correct?
I don't remember my exact words now, but I did ask him to come home. Correct.
And
Yes.
Carrie Roberts.
Okay. Yes.
You wanted to let Ms. Roberts know that you had been contacted by certain officers from a different agency, correct?
I was curious if they had already been to her.
That was
Because-
my next
Oh,
question.
yeah.
You also wanted to find out had these law enforcement officers from this different agency contacted her, correct?
Yes, because typically if
I
you
just
enter
asked
our
yes or no.
town, she's.
Ms. McCabe, yes or no?
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to
That's okay.
explain. I'm sorry.
Is that why you contacted her, to find out if in fact they had contacted her before you? Yes or no?
Yes.
And you also wanted to find out what she told them, if she had been contacted by them, correct? That was your motive in calling her.
No.
So you just wanted to find out, had she been contacted?
Yes.
But if she had said yes, you weren't going to say, and what the hell did they say? What did they ask you?
Well, I can't say what I would have answered, what I would have asked her, but I know I was calling to see if they had been there. Yes.
That was
correct.
your intent.
I called to ask her if they had been there. Yes.
So that was your intent. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Your motive in calling Carrie Roberts at that moment before your interview was to ensure that your story would line up with her story, Ms. McCabe. Isn't that right?
No, that is not.
Ooh, Alan
You wanted to
starting.
find out if she had talked to these particular law enforcement officers and what she had told them, so that your story could somehow align, or it could inform how you responded to questions that they asked you. Isn't that true?
That's not true. We both know what happened. We don't have to have a story.
Oh,
There is no story. There's what happened, and that's
so,
it.
So if that's true, Ms. McCabe,
Mhm.
you'd have no reason to call Carrie and ask her if she had been contacted.
and if that's true, you'd have no reason to work together on a timeline and talk about it.
The story. There's what happened, and that's
so,
it.
So if that's true, Ms. McCabe,
Mhm.
you'd have no reason to call Carrie and ask her if she had been contacted by these law enforcement agents, because it's just the truth. right?
Oh,
We're going through this whole experience together. We call each other about everything.
There would
That's
be no
nothing
reason.
more than that.
So
I'm sorry.
let her finish her answer. Go ahead, Ms. McCabe, you can finish that.
There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Miss Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming, because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
And that's helpful in making sure that the story
we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this. Okay, we were going to CCD. We had crucifixes on our neck. We're not used to this kind of thing. We were getting a blowout. We were getting a spray tan. We were getting peanut butter sandwiches. We were going Dunkin' Donuts.
Go ahead, Ms. McCabe, you can finish that.
There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Miss Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming, because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
And that's helpful in making sure that the stories she tells are consistent with the stories you tell to different law enforcement agencies, correct?
No, we are not telling stories.
So let her finish. You said no what?
I said, no, we're not telling stories. We don't have to compare.
Going to the bar.
What we were telling you was just the truth. There'd be no reason for you to inquire about who's contacted her when. There'd be no reason.
There's no inquiring. It's like when when the ice cream truck was at the street next door and I'm saying, did the ice cream truck come? It's really that simple.
So you asked a question,
Not on ice cream truck.
an argumentative question, and she responded.
I know it's kind of hard to hear. Alan Jackson needs to talk right into the mic, or like you guys were saying in the chat, why can't they put lavalier mics on the attorneys and everyone? But she starts talking about an ice cream truck, and Bev goes, let me answer the question. You asked a question, and Alan Jackson says, not about an ice cream truck.
It's really that simple.
So you asked a question,
Not about an ice cream truck.
an argumentative question, and she
Oh, Bev says, you asked a question, an argumentative question, and I'm trying to get through a half day.
responded in kind. Next question.
She responded in kind. Next question. Objection. Bev, your bangs are doing too much today. Overruled. My bangs are always doing too much. Okay. Okay, Bevy. Okay, Bevy.
Thank you.
Bevy Beverage.
You also testified in your direct examination, staying with Ms. Roberts for just a second, about a timeline that you and Ms. Roberts put together, correct?
Yes.
That's another
Peg
example
wanted
of the
it.
two of you talking about your own perceptions and comparing and contrasting those perceptions and putting it down on paper, correct?
No,
Is that yes or no?
it's a no. Can I explain or no?
I'm sure Mr. Brennan will have follow-up questions.
Well,
After you gave that answer to those law enforcement officers at that separate law enforcement agency, they asked you, was there anyone else that you contacted in that 10-minute period before we got a chance to talk to you? And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
It wasn't a lie. No.
Was it true?
Was it
true? There was no, correct? Is there anyone else that you contacted in that 10-minute period before we got a chance to talk to you? And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
It wasn't a lie. No.
Was it true? Was it the truth or a lie?
It wasn't a lie.
Okay, so it was the truth. You had not spoken to any other person between the time they contacted you telephonically and you said, I need 10 minutes, and then they came in the door. During that arc of time, you didn't talk to anybody else or contact anybody else other than Matt McCabe, Carrie Roberts. Now you're testifying that was a true statement. Yes or no, ma'am?
I can't answer that yes or no.
So pretty
Why?
binary. Had you talked, well, let me ask you this. In point of fact, you did talk to other people. You contacted others in addition to Matt McCabe and Carrie Roberts, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So when you said no to the answer, did you contact anyone other than Matt and Carrie? That would be, by definition, Ms. McCabe, a lie. Correct?
No.
It's not a lie? Is there some shade of lie that I'm not aware of?
It's the way you're asking the question. If
Okay,
I
let
could
me ask it a different
explain, if
way.
I could explain,
Let me ask
it
it a
will
different
make
way.
more sense to you.
If I could explain my way around, it would make more sense to you. I was at the bat. Yes, Holly Anna says all this negativity is going to put her hair in a frizz. She paid a lot for that blow. It's a good blowout. I will say Jen McCabe is looking good.
The agents asked you. I'm going to go over this one more time, then I'm going to move on. The agents asked you, in fact, did you contact anyone between the time we called you and set up the interview and the 10 minutes before we walked in the door? They asked you that question, correct?
The objection sustained. Watch the choice of language.
I'm sorry. I meant the law enforcement agency. That law enforcement agency, the members of that law enforcement
They're
agency.
like, don't mention the feds. We can't let the jury know about the feds.
Watch the choice of language.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I meant the law enforcement agency. That law enforcement agency, the members of that law enforcement agency contacted you. Sorry. They asked you who you had contacted between the time they first telephoned you and walked in the door 10 minutes later. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Data point number one. Data point number two. You told them Matt and Karen, correct?
Correct.
You had actually contacted, they then asked you, did you contact anyone else other than Matt and Karen, correct?
Correct.
And you said no. Is that correct?
At that moment, I said no. Yes.
Correct. At any moment.
No, at that moment, because they had just come in my house.
Only one person can talk at a time.
You said the word no.
She was finishing her answer.
I had said no because I was in a situation where there are two officers from a
Did you
different.
catch that? She was about to say, I'm going to be completely honest. Well, hopefully you're being honest through the whole thing, Jen.
Her answer.
I had said no because I was in a situation where there are two officers from a different agent had come in, were asking me questions, or they had said, can I come in and ask you questions? At first, I thought they were selling something. Then they identified themselves. I just dropped my kids off at school. Going to be completely honest. I hadn't brushed my teeth.
I knew she was going to say, I'm going to be completely honest, you guys. We knew it. She is razzled, dazzled, frazzled for the first time. We are seeing Jen McCabe try to explain her way out of. You just didn't tell the feds the truth. They came in, asked if you talked to anyone besides these two people. You said no when you did because you called Carrie Roberts, and just admit it.
First, I thought they were selling something. Then they identified themselves. I just dropped my kids off at school. Going to be completely honest. I hadn't brushed my teeth. So I kind of made some phone
Objection, Your Honor.
calls.
This is
That's
non-responsive.
so. Next questions.
Thank you.
All right, this is crazy. You leave the house without brushing your teeth? That's not good. Oh, that's not good. You are hurting the world. That should be a crime. She should be in custody for that.
Completely honest. I hadn't brushed my teeth.
Yuck.
So I kind of made some phone
Objection, Your Honor.
calls.
This is non-responsive.
So next questions.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, after you said no,
we're leaning forward now,
that you hadn't contacted anybody else, those two law enforcement officers from that separate agency who had told you it was a crime to lie to them, they left, correct?
Yes.
Subsequent to that, Mr. McCabe, your husband,
Objection.
Sustained.
they left you their card so you could call them if need be, correct?
Yes, they did.
And you, in fact, did call them back, correct?
Yes, I did.
Without telling me the content of the conversation you had.
Good point.
Did you have a conversation with Mr. McCabe?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you call them back and say, I'm calling you back because my husband told me
Objection.
that I lied to you and I'd better clear that lie up?
So sustained. Jurors, remember I told you before that only answers to questions are evidence? Be mindful of that. Next, yes.
Oh, Bev is pissed. I'm going to put it in real time. Yes. She is mad. We need to give Bev a Snickers. Bev's bangs are pissed. Listen to this.
My husband told me
We'll slow it down to 0.9.
Objection.
that I lied to you and I'd better clear that lie up.
So sustained. Jurors, remember I told you before that only answers to questions are evidence? Be mindful of that.
May we approach?
Next, yes.
Yes. Yes, they're dragging the devil out of Bev. Bev's like, you're hurting my friend's feelings. All right, we got a sidebar. It's sidebar time. I need a sidebar music, like a little thing. Let's do a viewer discretion for sidebar.
The following is rated TV MALSV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Viewer discretion advised. We're on the sidebar.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. You ultimately called these officers back, correct?
Yes.
And you explained to them that you had been untruthful with them, correct?
I explained that I had forgotten to mention a couple
Forgotten.
people that I had reached out to.
You had forgotten.
How?
Is that your
Yeah.
testimony?
Yes.
You had forgotten. You remembered Matt and you remembered Carrie,
Mhm.
but you had forgotten the others that you had just contacted maybe 30 minutes before.
Yes.
There were 5 people that you contacted, weren't there?
I contacted Matt.
Let's go through them. Understand
Yeah.
yes, no.
You
know,
contacted
No 4 off the top.
5 people in 10 minutes? Jesus. I know Indiana Girl Jules in the chat was saying, dang, she talks to a lot of people, but she talked to more people in 10 minutes than I talked to in a week. Minus you guys, but I'm like talking into but on the phone? You called 5 people and you didn't brush your teeth? My first thing on my mind would be if someone came to my house, I didn't brush my teeth, I wouldn't answer the door. I'll be honest with you. I would not. I also wouldn't leave the house without brushing my teeth. To me, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm the weird one here, but that would drive me crazy, knowing that I didn't brush my teeth. I won't even go live without brushing my teeth. And you guys can't even smell my breath. But seriously, yuck. No, thank you. Yeah, Andrea, Bev's doing the prosecutor's job. You talked to 5 people, lady?
Mm-hmm.
But
In
you
10
had
minutes?
forgotten the others that you had just contacted maybe 30 minutes before.
Yes.
There were
Dunkin' Donuts.
5 people that you contacted, weren't there?
Holly, Hannah, you cracked me up.
I contacted Matt.
Let's go through them. Understand
Yeah.
yes, no. You know them?
I know 4 off the top of
No.
my head.
Okay, let's go through them.
Okay.
You contacted your husband, correct?
Yes.
You contacted Carrie Roberts, correct?
Yes.
You contacted Peggy O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Then, Ms. McCabe, you contacted the district attorney's office, correct?
What? You contacted the district attorney's office? Look at the face. Look at that. Oh, that face. Don't give me that face. Don't give me that face.
Let's go through them. Understand
Yeah.
yes, no. You know them?
I know 4 off the top of my head.
Okay, let's go through them.
Okay.
You contacted your husband, correct?
Yes.
That's 1.
You contacted Carrie Roberts, correct?
That's 2.
Yes.
You contacted Peggy O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
3.
Then, Ms. McCabe, you contacted the district attorney's office.
Oh my God, that's
correct?
4.
My witness advocate.
The district attorney's office.
My witness advocate who works
Miss-
for the district attorney's
Thank
office.
you, Ms. McCabe.
Yes.
And you also left out that you contacted Brian Albert himself.
Holy
Correct?
balls.
Yes, my brother-in-law.
For some reason, your brother-in-law,
Why?
who's the 30-year Boston police detective, correct?
Yes.
And on whose lawn John O'Keefe was found dead or dying. Objection.
I'll allow that.
Correct?
Yes.
For some reason, you did not want these officers to know that you had communicated specifically with Brian Albert, the homeowner, just before you talked to them. Correct?
No, incorrect.
There was some reason that was important enough for you to lie about that, even though you had been admonished that it's a crime to lie about that to those officers. Correct?
Incorrect. I didn't lie to them. I had forgotten who I had called.
And all of a sudden, you had an epiphany right after they walked out the door?
Yes. Matt said, who have you spoken to?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. It's out. You're not to go any further. Mr. Jackson.
Ms. McCabe, I want to draw your attention.
Oh, she
to-
looks pissed, you guys. Watch your eyes on this one.
Who I had called.
And all of a sudden you had an epiphany right after they walked out the door?
Yes. Matt said, who have you spoken to?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. It's out. You're not to go any further. Mr. Jackson.
Ms. McCabe, I want to draw your attention to
5 people, guys.
January 28th.
The DA.
You had gone out drinking with your family at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
I went with my husband and met my sister, yes.
And met the other family, correct?
Are those people not your family, your brother or your sister and your husband, ma'am? Don't stop trying to be smarter than the questions. Just answer honestly.
Other family
Like
members.
Judge Judy says, when you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Out drinking with your family at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
I went with my husband and met my sister, yes.
And met the other family, correct? The other family members, meaning
My niece.
Matt McCabe, Nicole, Chris, Julie, Caitlin, correct?
Yes.
I think you mentioned Tristan was there as well.
Yes.
You were later joined by Nick and Karina Kolakithis, is that right?
Yes.
Ultimately, Brian Higgins showed up
Yes.
and Brian Albert showed up.
Yes.
You previously indicated that Caitlin's boyfriend, Tristan, left early for whatever reason. He had errands to run or had to get to bed early for some reason. Is that right?
He left before us, yes.
So he didn't stay through the shank of the evening.
Through the what?
The shank of the evening, through the course of the evening.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Is that right?
What that means.
Yes.
Okay.
The shank.
And ultimately at the Waterfall, John O'Keefe and Miss Reed showed up as well.
Yes.
You didn't see any tension at all between John O'Keefe and Karen that night, did you?
No, I didn't.
They appeared to be getting along.
Yeah. Yes.
Sort of a normal couple having a nice evening out together.
Yes.
Neither John nor Karen Read appeared drunk or inebriated, out of sorts.
No, I wouldn't categorize them as drunk or inebriated.
Inebriated.
But again,
You
I
might
don't know
be
what,
inebriated
I
right
mean,
now.
what the definition of drunk is.
Well, that's a fair statement.
What do you mean you don't know what the definite? Ma'am, you are almost 50 years old. We all know, but this is the same lady who's impervious to alcohol. She can't pronounce inebriated. She might be inebriated. Inebriated. I just was doing peanut butter sandwiches in my car because my niece was with me. We didn't want to go to Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes.
Neither John nor Karen Read appeared drunk or inebriated, out of sorts.
No, I wouldn't categorize them as drunk or inebriated.
Inebriated.
But again, I don't know what, I mean,
Ma'am, you know what drunk is.
what the definition of drunk is.
Well, that's a fair statement. I'm not asking for their BAC, but they didn't appear to be stumbling around, falling all over themselves and sloppy drunk, correct?
No.
Out of control.
You can't tell who's drunk when you're drunk. Allegedly.
You did see Brian Higgins and Brian Albert at a high top table sort of together through the course of that evening, correct?
We were all kind of around like a long high top table.
And John O'Keefe,
top.
and as you look at I'm going to use the perspective of the video that we've seen, that camera angle that we've seen. John O'Keefe and Miss Reed were sort of further off in the corner, closer to the bar rather than to the tables, correct? Along with the Kolakithises and those, and you, as a matter of fact.
Yes. At different times, everyone was kind of moving around. I spent the majority of the time that Karen and John were there speaking with Karen.
And that was sort of over toward the bar.
We weren't in the bar. We were at the table. So it was one side of the table and the other. It wasn't like far away.
Right.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm using the bar sort of as a landmark for nothing. I didn't mean you were sidled up to the bar, but just sort of as a landmark. You were closer to the bar than, for instance, in the foreground, which would be the high top tables in the foreground, correct?
We were just on the other. I'm confused about this. We were just on the other side of the table.
Okay. You did see on the opposite side of that high top table, that's where Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were standing, talking and communicating with each other. Is that right?
I believe so. I was talking to Miss Reed. I wasn't really paying attention to them.
Did you ever see those two men get physical with one another that night?
I did not that night. I did not see that.
Have you ever seen a full review in all the hours that you've sort of prepped for your testimony? Have you been shown that waterfall video from the time you got there until the time you left?
Not the full video, but I have seen a good portion of it, yes.
Okay, and you've certainly seen the portion where Brian Albert and Brian Higgins get up from the table and sort of get physical with one another, correct?
I would say more like play fighting, and Nick Kolakidis was a little bit like doing it with them as well.
Okay, so the physical part is, all I'm asking is, did they touch each other? Yes.
Ooh, they were
Yeah,
touching.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah.
And you described it as play fighting, correct?
But I don't, if we could watch the video, it might explain it better than I could.
Quit trying to lead. She's trying to lead this cross-examination. We could watch the video and probably explain it, but I don't know. I was at the bar. I didn't feel a thing from all the drinks I had. And I was ready to drunk drive home, but I don't know what drunk is. So I got to go a Dunkin' Donuts.
We probably will.
Oh, okay.
But right now, I'm just asking about your memory. Describe
She's
it.
trying to control it again. We could watch it, Mr. Jackson.
Doing it with them as well.
Okay, so the physical part is, all I'm asking is, did they touch each other? Yes.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And you described it as play fighting, correct?
But I don't, if we could watch the video, it might explain it better than I could.
We probably will.
Oh, okay.
But right now, I'm just asking about your memory. You remember them squaring off on one another, playing, but squaring off on one another,
I
correct?
don't remember them squaring off. Like I said, I just watched the video. I don't remember it from that night, and I didn't really pay attention. It looked like foolish, like guys just, I don't even know how to describe it.
From your perspective, having watched the video,
Mhm.
did it appear that they
This
squared
is
off
definitely
and sort of took
a boys will be boys town, the good old boys town. The misogyny creeps in every time they're like, she was hysterical, the internalized and regular ass misogyny. She was hysterical. She's crazy. Oh my God. Yes, guess who's back? Back again. Jen McCabe is back. Tell your friends to hop on.
Foolish, like guys just, I don't even know how to describe it.
From your perspective, having watched the video,
Mhm.
did it appear that they squared off on each other and sort of took a fighting stance?
I didn't look at it that in depth, so I could not say that.
Did you see them walk up to each other and grapple with one another? Like they didn't notice punching each other.
Right.
I get that.
Mhm.
Were they grappling with one another, like faking punches to each other?
I don't know.
Almost like sparring a little bit.
I don't honestly know.
But you did see the
I
video.
saw them together. It's blurry, and they're kind of, I don't know really what they're doing.
Okay, but they weren't standing there holding hands. Right?
Oh, God, no. No.
They weren't on their phones, right?
They were engaging with each other, playfully, grabbing at each other. I don't really,
Playfully grabbing each other, like fighting, correct? That's my point.
I'd have to watch the video to categorize it as play fighting.
You don't have that in your head?
I didn't know. It was a quick clip. I wasn't like focusing on Brian and Brian. I was just identifying that was myself in the video, and there was Miss Read. And I believe Miss Read actually did some play fighting to Matt.
There was, in fact, to Matt.
Yeah, I feel like she was about like this to Matt at one point. Yeah, in the video.
So let's
That's crazy. You don't remember that Brian and Brian are doing play fighting, but you sure as hell remember to bring up Karen Read and go, I think she was play fighting with my husband. Yeah. We were at the bar and she was doing this. And then she showed him her tots, I'm pretty sure, because she's a whore. How does she remember? Always revert back to Karen. Karen, but they didn't do it, but Karen did. Yeah, we were going to go to Dunkin' Donuts, but Karen. That's crazy. And she looks over at Karen, and Karen's like, I was not touching your husband.
I didn't know. It was a quick clip. I wasn't like focusing on Brian and Brian. I was just identifying that was myself in the video, and there was Miss Read. And I believe Miss Read actually did some play fighting to Matt.
There was, in fact, to Matt.
Yeah, I feel like she was about like this to Matt at one point. Yeah,
Okay.
in the video.
So let's talk about Brian and Brian.
Mhm.
Higgins and Brian Albert.
Mhm.
Those two men, very large in stature, correct?
They're big guys. Yeah.
Big boys.
Mhm.
A lot bigger than me, right?
Big.
Yeah.
Higgins is huge.
They took a fighting stance with each other and started grappling, playing, coming toward each other as if they were engaging in a fake physical altercation, correct?
I did not see that. I'm sorry.
Okay. You didn't even see it on the video.
I saw them on the video grabbing at each other. I didn't see stances but again, I didn't pay much attention to it.
And that's your best memory as you sit here today?
Yes.
Okay. Eventually, your husband, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Nicole, Caitlin, everybody went over to 34 Fairview at the end of the night,
Yes.
correct? The bar closed at, I'm guessing, midnight.
Okay.
Is that right?
I think we were wrapping up around then. I don't know what time it actually
Midnight.
closes.
When you left Waterfall, the people that were still there included Matt, your husband, and John O'Keefe. Is that right?
Yes.
You walked out with Karina Kolakithis and Karen Read.
Yes.
And you said to Miss Read something along the lines of, "You're coming with me," correct?
I said, why don't you come with me?
Okay, fair enough. You were prompting her to join you for the ride over to 34 Fairview. Is that right?
Yes.
You even went outside and sort of waited in the cold. There's a video. Have you seen the video of you outside, the surveillance video of you outside in the cold?
Yes.
And you're sort of waiting there, moving from foot to foot like it's freezing out, which I'm sure it was, correct?
Yes.
In a big puffy coat of some kind, right?
So the question was, I moving foot to foot in a coat? Yes.
My question is more, did you see yourself waiting outside the cold?
I saw myself convert. I believe I was in a conversation at that point when I was standing out there with John and Karen.
And that's when you were asking Karen to come with you?
No, I had asked Karen previously when we were at the door to come with me because I didn't know how long Matt and John were going to be in the bar because they were in there still.
And that would have, by definition, brought Karen to 34 Fairview separate and apart from John O'Keefe if Karen had come with you.
Yes.
So, Miss Read ultimately declined your invitation and did go with John. Is that right?
John ended up coming to the door, so they just went together. Yes.
And finally, you walked away and went with your husband, Matt, over to 34 Fairview in your personal vehicle, correct?
Yes.
When you arrived at 34 Fairview, were you the first among the group that we've just talked about to arrive, or had others arrived before you?
Others had arrived before me.
When you walked in to 34 Fairview, where was everybody generally located? Give me a layout of the interior of the home, how you walked in and where everybody was located, the people that were there when you walked in from the Waterfall.
So I walked in through the front door. I took a right into the kitchen. And then there were people sitting around the kitchen table, Brian Albert Jr., Julie Nagel, Sarah Levinson, Caitlin Albert. My sister was over more towards like the counters in the sink, and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were, there's like a room right off of the kitchen, like a TV room, and they were in there just talking. I think Nicole had like put up some new pictures, so, or maybe the Sun and the Marines, they might've been looking at a picture. Vaguely have a faint memory of that.
You indicated that you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
He's approaching. Jen McCabe cannot wait for this testimony to be over, I bet. This cross. She's like, let's go.
Yeah, this is your.
The blowout is kind of the volume. She's losing it.
At that photograph, just a quick second.
Yes.
Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What do you recognize that photograph as being?
It's my sister's house.
34 Fairview?
Yes, sorry, 34 Fairview.
Brian Albert's house as well.
Yes.
No, I'd like to mark this as marked for identification. There's a
Identification's fine.
thank you. If I may. What would be the next in order?
Exhibit F for identification.
Thank you.
Exactly, Elizabeth. Yesterday, she was like, this is what happened. I know it happened. Karen said it 3 times. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Jen! Peanut butter sandwiches, Dunkin' Donuts. I turned this way so I couldn't see. They were in the back seat. Oh, yeah.
What exhibit number is that, Mr. Wolf? 3. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'm going to show a different exhibit until the other issue can be resolved. With the court's permission, it's Commonwealth Exhibit 3. Permission to publish?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf, could you highlight or enlarge the house as much as you can? Thank you. Ms. McCabe, do you recognize what's depicted in this photo? I know it's a little bit of an angle.
Yes.
What is that?
That is 34 Fairview.
Okay. Can you I think this laser will work. May I approach?
Yes.
Use that laser and point to the front door that you entered when you walked in the house. Okay, that's directly in the middle of the just to the left of the flagpole for this purposes of this photograph, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there another entry door on the house that you may not be able to see, but you know the general area?
Yes.
Where's that door?
So that would be, see where these two windows are?
Yes.
The door would
breezeway
be
door.
kind of behind that right there. So it's right to the left of those two windows.
And Ms. McCabe, just staying with doors for a second, is there another door associated with the garage?
Oh, actually, yeah, there is right there.
Right there next to that side door?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Oh, new information. We got the breezeway door. We got the front door. We got the garage door. Lots of ways to get in the house.
You didn't go in the side door, you went in the front door that night.
Yes.
You indicated that once inside the house, you were sort of in the kitchen area. Is that right?
I was in the kitchen, yes.
You weren't paying special attention to Brian Albert or Brian Higgins, what they were doing. As a matter of
No.
fact, I think they went into a different room. Is that right?
There's a room, kind of the kitchen opens up into the TV room. So they were in there.
So the only
Brian Higgins and Brian Albert are real close and they love being alone and allegedly touching each other.
Brian Albert or Brian Higgins, what they were doing. As a matter of fact, I think they went into a different room. Is that right?
There's a room, kind of the kitchen opens up into the TV room. So they were in there.
So the only two that you recognized at this point in the night, not being sort of with everybody else, were Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, separated out in the family room or whatever that room's called, living room.
Yeah, if you like just right there, you know, right where they are, just
Okay.
kind of right in the next room.
When you first pulled up, did you notice any vehicles in front of Brian Albert's house?
Yes, I did.
What vehicles did you notice? Vehicle or vehicles? Did you
Just
notice?
one.
What was that vehicle?
It was a Jeep.
Can you describe the Jeep for us, please?
Really can't. All I can say is that when I pulled down, the Jeep was on the parked on the street in front of the mailbox, and I turned into the driveway.
Okay. Did the Jeep have any special features on it that you remember that you
No.
can describe?
Not that I can recall.
Big giant snowplow on the front?
Again, it was dark. I didn't really pay much detail to it beyond I just asked whose Jeep is that.
And did you learn whose Jeep that was?
I did, yes.
Whose Jeep was it?
It was Brian Higgins' Jeep.
And you said that it was parked in front of the mailbox. Is that right?
Yes.
So as you're looking at the house, the mailbox would be closest to the driveway. Is that right?
Yes.
Rather than, for instance, the flagpole on the other side of the lawn.
Correct. So if the flagpole's here, there's the lawn, and then here's the drive. I mean, here's the mailbox, and then the driveway's over here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Okay.
Thank you for that. You've previously indicated that the back edge of that vehicle, Brian Higgins' Jeep, was at the side, basically, of the driveway, which is what you just described. It would be blocking the mailbox, the rear end associated with the driveway entrance, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever discussed having seen that Jeep in that spot with anybody else in this case?
Is that including previous testimony or?
It is. And at any time, before you testified at the previous hearing, had you discussed having seen that Jeep in that spot with anybody else? For instance, your husband? Was there any other car on that curb line, if you will, other than the Jeep when you pulled in?
Not that I remember.
And Brian Higgins, if it's his Jeep, he's in the house, that Jeep's not moving, correct? So it stayed where it was.
Yes.
She looked like she's going to fall asleep there for a sec. Her eyes are heavy.
At some point, did you observe Miss Reed's vehicle pull up to the driveway? I'm sorry, pull up to the house.
I was told there was a vehicle outside, so I went and looked.
Where
Yes.
was that vehicle? When you looked that first time, where was Miss Reed's SUV?
When I went to the front door and looked out, it was straight ahead.
So that would be actually in line with the Jeep, correct?
Yes.
Directly in front of the Jeep.
I don't know the distance, but yes, you're correct. It was in front of the Jeep.
So if the Jeep was a normal, it's a full-size Jeep, correct?
I don't know what size it is.
Certainly the SUV is a full-size SUV.
Yes.
Right. So that would take up much of the room of the curb area in front of 34 Fairview, between the Jeep, assuming there's a snowplow,
Right.
and a full-size SUV, correct?
I'm not really sure of the whole area, but there was the Jeep and then there was the car. I just don't know the distance between them.
You gave a description of the vehicles that were out in front of 34 Fairview in your January 29, 2022 interview with Trooper Proctor, correct?
He came to my house and asked me questions, correct?
When you gave that interview to Trooper Proctor, you indicated to him that you first observed Miss Reed's vehicle parked on the street by the driveway, correct?
I never said by the driveway, no.
So if that's in a report, Trooper Proctor got that fact wrong, got that
Gotcha.
detail wrong.
Sustain.
He got a lot wrong. Leaky balloon.
If in
knot.
fact, well, let me ask it this way. What did you say to Trooper Proctor about where that vehicle was?
Miss Reed's vehicle?
Correct.
I told him it was straight out front the window. The straight out front of the front door. Sorry.
She's having a hard time.
Proctor wrote a report about his interview with you, correct?
Correct.
You've seen that report in other hearings, is that right?
Yes.
Your interview with him was on January 29th. Do you remember the date? I'm sorry, I just said the date. Do you remember the time? My mistake.
I don't remember the exact time. I'm assuming afternoon, like after 12, or I'm not 100%. Sorry.
You had been contacted by Trooper Proctor while you were still at 34 Fairview, is that right?
Yes.
Ultimately, instead of coming from the Canton Police Department to 34 Fairview, you went home to your house.
I did.
To
Yes.
the Country Lane address.
Yes, I did.
And Trooper Proctor ended up meeting you there, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to you and Matt being there,
Mhm.
Brian Albert showed up, correct?
I asked him to come.
So you asked your brother-in-law to come to the interview that you were having with Trooper Proctor formally in furtherance of his investigation surrounding the circumstances of this case. Correct?
No,
But Brian Albert did show up at your house.
he did. I asked him to come. Yes.
And he was inside the house when Trooper Proctor ultimately interviewed you, correct?
He was in the house. Yes.
And you'd spoken to Brian Albert before Trooper Proctor had interviewed you formally, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Matter of fact, several times you had to have spoken to him at 34 Fairview. You've already said that, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. We were all there in the kitchen.
And then obviously you spoke to him about the interview before Trooper Proctor got to your house to
Oh,
interview
right.
you on the 29th as well, correct?
We were just talking about what happened.
There are just times where she looks over at the, like when they said she went back to her home. I did, yeah, with this smile. You talked to Trooper Proctor before. Yeah, I did, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's weird.
But Brian Albert did show up at your house.
He did. I asked him to come. Yes.
And he was inside the house when Trooper Proctor ultimately interviewed you, correct?
He was in the house. Yes.
And you'd spoken to Brian Albert before Trooper Proctor had interviewed you formally, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Matter of fact, several times you had to have spoken to him at 34 Fairview. You've already said that, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. We were all there in the kitchen.
And then obviously you spoke to him about the interview before Trooper Proctor got to your house to interview you on the 29th as well, correct?
We were just talking about what happened. It wasn't specifically about Trooper Proctor.
Right. Not about Trooper Proctor. You talked to Brian Albert about the circumstances of this case before you spoke with Trooper Proctor.
Yes, I had.
Do you remember exactly what you said to Trooper Proctor about the location of the SUV in front of the house?
I know what I said. Yes.
Okay. What exactly did you say there?
I said the car was straight out front of the front door. When I was looking out the front door, it was straight ahead.
Is it true that what you actually said, Ms. McCabe, is that you first observed the vehicle parked on the street by the driveway facing in the direction toward Chapman?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you said?
Those are not my words. No.
Okay, next question.
I gotta hear that again.
Is that you first observed the vehicle parked on the street by the driveway facing in the direction toward Chapman?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you said?
Those are not my words. No.
Okay, next question.
Pull the receipts.
You've already indicated that following the events of January 28th and 29th, you have spoken extensively with your family and your friends, members of your family and your friend group about what happened that night, correct?
Yes.
And that includes Brian and Nicole Albert, is that right?
Yes.
That includes Matt McCabe, your husband, correct?
Yes.
That includes Chris and Julie Albert?
Yes.
Includes other people that were there that night, including Brian Higgins?
I haven't spoken to Brian Higgins since, I believe, John O'Keefe's wake.
But you did speak to him that morning at 34 Fairview, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, he was there. Yes.
As a matter of fact, he's the one that told you to call Officer Lank back and have Officer Lank come back for the additional statement that you wanted to give Officer Lank. Is that right?
He may have suggested it. I'm not sure.
So in those discussions that you've had with all these folks, you've talked to the details about that night being at the bar, the house, who was where, all of those things, correct?
Yes.
You've talked about the timing of the night, who arrived, when people arrived at 34 Fairview, when people arrived at Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
No, those really aren't details we discuss. I mean, everybody kind of knows when they came and when they left. We talk more about, living with everything that we've gone through.
Well, what about on the morning of January 29th, when everybody was still in that sort of friends and family gathering inside 34 Fairview?
When I was there with my husband and sister and brother-in-law and, then Brian's friend and Julie Albert, I was trying to piece together what had happened. They were all being supportive. They had no idea what happened. We were just kind of sitting there in utter shock, waiting to hear from Kerry about John. It was nothing more than just us being together and trying to figure out what had happened. I had gotten a phone call from Karen to help her.
And during that conversation, or that series of conversations, you were sharing what your observations of that evening were, what your story was, how the evening started, how it ended for you, correct? Or the morning ended for you, correct?
No, I'm not correct.
During the time that you folks were inside the house discussing this, there was no law enforcement agent or officer inside that house, correct?
Correct.
So the entire family and the friend network that we're talking about, with whom you discussed all these events, everybody was entitled to and did coordinate their statements without any separation and without any law enforcement oversight, correct?
I was with my family, my sister, my brother-in-law. It wasn't really a big group of us. As I've mentioned, I had 5 or 6 people. I was in shock. I didn't know what had happened.
So now she's claiming, oh yes, that they are my family. Now it's at first she's like, I was with my husband and my sister. Oh yeah, and now they're my family. Jen.
They were just asking me what happened.
And
questions like that. And I absolutely told them, but it was no story. There was no us being allowed to do it. That was my family. They were just there with me.
But nobody was separated by law enforcement, correct?
I don't believe there was a reason to separate us.
Nobody. Well, notwithstanding what you think was the reason, you're not a professional investigator, correct?
I'm not, no.
You're not a trained investigator.
No.
You're certainly not a homicide detective, correct?
No.
None of you witnesses were ever separated, were you, that morning?
There was no reason to separate us.
I'm not asking you if there was a reason, okay? I'm asking you whether or not factually anybody was separated in that house. Or was everybody allowed to talk amongst themselves?
I was with my family. We didn't need to be allowed.
Okay.
But is Brian Higgins your family? Your family?
Try this again. Was anybody in that house separated? Were the witnesses separated from each other? The family, who are witnesses, were they separated from each other? By law enforcement?
At that point, I don't think anyone but myself and Matt were maybe even witnesses.
Okay. I'm not asking you what your determination of who the witnesses are. I'm asking you whether the folks in that house were separated by law enforcement.
She's trying to control his questioning. We saw this in the first trial.
Before we were able to have discussions about the events of January 28th and 29th. That's a yes or no question. Were you separated or not?
At one point, when Mike Lank was in the house, he had separated and talked to Nicole, then Brian, then Matt.
And then he promptly left and left everybody in the house together, correct?
He left us, yeah.
Right. Nobody was taken down to the station, is that right?
No.
As a matter of fact, Trooper Proctor didn't even come over to 34 Fairview, the scene of the incident, to interview you, correct?
I asked him to meet at my house because I had to go home to my children.
And he accommodated you, didn't he?
He did, yes.
And he accommodated the fact that Brian Albert escorted you to the house for your interview.
It pays to be related to the police in a police investigation. Well, I had to get home to my family. I am a mother to a fault. I had to go to Dunkin' Donuts. All right. I couldn't just feed my kid McDonald's.
Correct?
Brian didn't escort me, no.
Well, he went to your house at the same time that Trooper Proctor was there to interview you, correct?
He came at some point, yes, by himself.
Before Trooper Proctor did the interview.
I'm not sure if he was there, if he got there before or when
Like scratching.
Well,
he arrived.
you've testified in the past that
Yes.
Brian Albert came to your house alone. I don't mean you came in the same car,
Yes.
but he followed you over to your house before Trooper Proctor ever got there. And he was in the house while Trooper Proctor conducted his interview, correct?
Yes, Brian was
All
in
right.
the house for the interview.
Thank you. You've already indicated that you have been discussing this case with certain other witnesses, not for days or weeks or months, but literally for years, most specifically Carrie Roberts, correct?
The case in general, yes.
Huh?
Just before Carrie Roberts testified at a grand jury proceeding in this case, you were with her, weren't you?
I don't recall what you're talking about.
Do you remember being at the grand jury?
Yes.
You remember testifying at the grand jury?
Yes, the one back in April. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
You remember being there in an ante room with some other folks?
What's an ante
An
room?
ante room, a waiting room?
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for your testimony?
Yes.
You remember Carrie Roberts being with you in that exact same ante room?
Yes.
And that was right before her testimony, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
So in answer to my question, you two were together literally just before she testified at the grand jury, which was the first formal under oath testimony that she ever gave. Is that right?
Yes.
So he's indicating you guys were together. You were allowed to be together before the first formal grand jury interview you've done. So of course you could have compared stories.
When she testified at the grand jury, was that before or after you two had gotten together and created this timeline?
We did the timeline right after John had passed.
So she testified, the answer is she testified after the timeline was created, correct?
Yes.
Brian Albert and his family had a dog on January 29th, 2022, did they not?
Yes, they did.
What was that dog's name?
Chloe,
What kind of dog was Chloe?
German Shepherd.
Justice for Chloe.
Was it do you know if it was a purebred German Shepherd or a mix of Malinois and German Shepherd, or do you know?
I have no idea.
Big dog,
Yeah, good sized dog. Yeah.
70-pounder.
I don't know its weight.
Wasn't a little munchkin dog, though. It was
No,
a full-size German
it's
Shepherd.
a full size. Yeah.
On the morning that you described going into the house, January 29th, 6:40 a.m. or so, you indicated that you burst into the bedroom to wake your sister and Brian Albert.
Yes,
that
Alan.
right?
Ask
Yes, I
about
went
it.
into the bedroom.
It's still dark out, correct?
Yes.
There had been relative chaos on the lawn for a number of minutes, from about 6:10 until at least 6:40. When you went in, there were still emergency vehicles with lights on and engines running. Chaos, relative chaos, bedlam, as somebody had said, on that front lawn, correct?
It was more on their side lawn and down the street, kind of like all the cruises. A lot of them were behind their lot.
Right in front of 34 Fairview, correct?
To the side, in the side yard of 34 Fairview. Yes.
And on the lawn of 34 Fairview,
Yes.
where first responders were responding, correct?
Yes.
And you said my client was screaming to the top of her lungs, is that right?
Yes, she was.
And Carrie Roberts was screaming back at her.
Yes.
Shut up or shut the fuck up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Then at 6:40 a.m., under the cover of darkness, you walked in the front door of the unlocked front door of Brian Albert's house, correct?
I went into my sister's house, correct?
It wasn't Brian Albert's house?
And Brian Albert. Yes, I'm sorry.
You then climbed the stairs up toward the bedrooms, correct?
Yes.
You walked into the bedroom door where Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, according to you, were sleeping. Is that right?
Yes.
So you would agree that you unexpectedly, in terms of their view, unexpectedly walked into their house basically in the middle of the night, middle of the morning.
Yes.
You indicated that when you went through their bedroom door, you sort of burst through, correct?
I opened the door. I don't know if I used the word burst.
You've previously indicated that when you went through the door, it was chaotic because you were so amped up from the events. Is that right?
I don't know if I used those words.
Would you say that you were loud or quiet?
I think as I explained earlier, I was like where everything was going on around me. And I was kind of like in just a state of shock. And I remember thinking, I don't want to startle them, but I have to wake them up because obviously when I wake them up, they're going to be panicked and think something terrible happened.
Well, why didn't you want to startle them? Something terrible had happened.
I didn't want to give them a heart attack when I woke them up.
But you didn't walk up and just nudge them and say, "Hey, Nicole, honey, can you wake up?" You didn't do that.
No, I was like, Brian, Nicole, wake up, wake up.
Okay, exactly.
Brian,
you were
Brian,
saying it in that
Nicole,
voice either. You were saying, Brian, Nicole, get up.
I'm not sure if it was that loud, but I definitely was. You definitely like trying to wake them up. Yes.
What was the dog's reaction?
Oh,
I don't recall seeing the dog.
Where was Chloe?
So, according to you, to the dog at least, we can get in the mind of a dog. A relative stranger walks in the front door, climbs a set of stairs. The house is completely dark. Walks into a bedroom door and starts barking. The person starts barking. Get up! Wake up! Brian, Nicole! And you don't remember seeing or hearing a dog at all.
Objection.
Sustain.
As you indicated, it's not that the dog wasn't.
Why can't she say what? I don't know. Some of these, I wish they would give us the reason why something is sustained or the objection. I know they don't have to there, but it'd be so helpful.
Reactive. It's that you don't remember the dog even being there, correct?
I have no memory of the dog, no.
But you do know that that dog sleeps in Brian and Nicole's room, correct?
It may, I don't know for sure.
The reason you don't remember the dog being there is because the dog wasn't there, was it?
I don't remember the dog.
Right. So when you walked out of the room, when you walked in the house, didn't see the dog?
No.
When you walked up the stairs, no dog?
No.
Walked down the hallway, no dog?
Weird.
No.
Walked into Brian and Nicole's bedroom door, no dog?
I don't remember seeing the dog.
I realize that.
Mhm.
Dog or no dog? No dog.
I don't remember seeing the dog. Doesn't mean it wasn't there or it was there. I just don't remember seeing it.
Well, no dog came up to you and barked at you, correct?
No.
You didn't see or hear a dog whining or howling, did you?
No.
You didn't hear or see a dog scratching at the door?
No.
There's no sign of a dog at all in Brian and Nicole Albert's house at 6:41 a.m. when you walked into that house, correct? Or 6:40?
I don't remember seeing the dog.
And this was a 70-pound German Shepherd, correct?
I don't know the weight of the
Have
dog.
you ever heard a description given about that dog by Brian Albert? Anybody else? That dog was not good with strangers.
Yeah.
Did you know, as you said, you're very, very dear friends, and obviously dear friends with Brian Albert, relations with Nicole Albert, your sister. Are you aware that that dog was not good with strangers?
Object.
Do you know that?
I don't. It wasn't good with other dogs is what I knew. So I
What?
could never bring my dog over there. That's all I know about the dog.
Right.
That's weird because even their neighbor said that he knows people that the dog attacked.
Had some aggression, correct? At least with other dogs.
Possibly.
Possibly with other dogs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you could remind the jurors, in your memory, who was the last person to leave the house 34 Fairview on the early morning hours of January 29th?
I believe Caitlin left after us, my niece.
Thank you. At some point, we've already talked a little bit about this. You said you looked out the front door glass. Was it a window or is the whole door glass?
The whole door was glass, I believe.
Is it like and pardon my ignorance, is there like a wooden door that is open and there's a storm door that's all glass that was closed? Is that what we're dealing with?
I believe so, yes. Yeah, that sounds about right. Mhm.
Can we take one more glance? I'm going to back up for a quick second. Okay. Can we take one more glance at that exhibit 3, the force permission? Okay.
Good question, Liz. Where was the dog? Yes. And Mallory, people are so cruel. Poor Chloe. Poor Chloe, indeed. Poor every dog out there that has owners like this. The dog's aggression and how the dog is trained and all those things falls upon the owner. And if you know your dog is aggressive, you know your dog attacks people, then you would, keep it away from areas in situations in which it could get hurt, in which, things could go terribly wrong, unless that was your intent to use the dog for. I don't know. But the fact that she doesn't see the dog there, we know that we later find out from, or we previously found out from the first trial that Chloe was rehomed. The family dog is rehomed. Was it rehomed that quickly? That morning? That's weird. It's weird. It's weird. I want some receipts on where the dog is.
Okay.
Thank
One
you.
more point of reference.
Mhm.
Can you please? Thank you so much. May I approach?
Yes.
Forgot to ask you, and I apologize, Ms. McCabe.
Thank
One
you.
more point of reference.
Mhm.
Can you please show the jurors where Brian and Nicole Albert's bedroom window is in that photograph?
Sure, it's right there.
Upper left window, uppermost left window, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Exactly, Krista. You're a responsible dog owner.
Let me get back on track. You indicated that you looked out that storm door and saw Miss Reed's vehicle, her SUV, directly in front of you, correct?
Yes.
That was the first time you noted or clocked that SUV
I'm
being
just
there?
going to rewind it a second. I want to know which one's their window. Elizabeth says if the dog is attacking people, I think that says a lot about the pup's parents. Get Chloe up there as a character witness. I mean, a German Shepherd is a very common dog for the police to use. So was this a police dog? Was this a dog that was trained to attack? What? I mean, I have so many questions about the dog. I really like dogs more than people.
Yeah, room window.
Yes.
Forgot to ask you, and I apologize, Ms. McCabe.
Thank
One
you.
more point of reference.
Mhm.
Can you please show the jurors where Brian and Nicole Albert's bedroom window is in that photograph?
Sure, it's right there.
Upper left window, uppermost left window, correct?
Yes.
Which makes this even more interesting because their bedroom window is even closer to the flagpole and where John O'Keefe's body was found and where the police and the ambulance and all the screaming was happening. So the fact that Jen McCabe is like, oh no, it was down the street. It was kind of far. And it's like, no, it was right in front of that flagpole. And their bedroom window is the furthest one. If you're looking all the way, if you're looking straight at the photo, the furthest left top window, that's their bedroom window. But again, they were intoxicated, so maybe that's why they didn't hear. I don't know. There's so many questions. I have so many questions.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, approach.
Yes.
Me too, Pamela. Me too.
Let me get back on track. You indicated that you looked out that storm door and saw Miss Reed's vehicle, her SUV, directly in front of you, correct?
Yes.
That was the first time you noted or clocked that SUV being there?
First time. Sorry.
The first time you noted the SUV, in other words, that you visually saw it, it was directly in front of you. It was not back by the mailbox, correct?
Correct.
Did you still see the Jeep parked back by the mailbox?
I looked out the window. I saw the car. I really didn't pay attention to details of other cars. I just looked and saw her car.
When you first looked out that window and saw, or looked out the door
Mhm.
and saw the SUV, what time was that?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Does the time 2:23 a.m. sound familiar?
2:23?
I'm sorry, 12:23. My mistake.
I'm not sure.
When you looked out the door, did you see any other vehicles at that time, other than the Jeep, other than Miss Reed's SUV?
I believe I saw lights. Oh, sorry. Lights like over here somewhere. If the Jeep's there and the car, is there.
Okay, can you describe for the record what you did? The theirs don't come across on the record.
Oh,
so
sorry.
to your left
Yes.
is
Straight out would be Miss Reed's vehicle that I looked at.
okay.
I kind of looked at that. I remember my peripheral vision seeing lights over there to the left. Sorry.
All right. So the way that you're describing this, and that's lights to a vehicle, correct?
Yes,
Matter of fact, you know what vehicle that is.
I do. Yes.
What vehicle is it? Describe it for the jurors, please.
It's Ryan Nagel's.
Ryan Nagel's what? Car,
The-
truck?
I believe he has a truck.
Okay. So what you're describing is you looked out
Mhm.
the window, you saw Miss Reed's SUV directly in front of you. Right behind that, in line, was Brian Higgins' Jeep, and behind that was Ryan Nagel's truck. Is that right?
I'm not sure where his truck lines up. I just remember seeing lights. I just quickly saw Miss Reed's car and went back into the room. I apologize, paying attention for like specific details about cars.
At some point, you did become interested in exactly what time Ryan Nagel's truck arrived, correct? This is after the fact, well after the fact, months after the fact.
Yes, I did.
As a matter of fact, you took it upon yourself to ask Julie Nagel, Ryan's sister, to send you something, correct?
Yes, I did.
What did you ask her to send you?
I ran into the two of them.
I didn't ask you who you ran into, just what did you ask her to send you?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. A text message.
A screenshot of a text message.
Yes, a screenshot of a text message between Julie and Ryan Nagel.
You knew at the time that Miss Nagel very obviously, was a percipient witness in this case, correct?
I believe so. It was very early on.
Well, I mean, she was in the house. Mr.
Yes.
McCabe. She was in the house when Ms. Reed's vehicle appeared, correct?
Correct.
She was in the house when you were looking at the vehicle.
Correct.
She was in the house when everybody came home from came to 34 Fairview from the Waterfall Bar and Grill, correct?
Correct.
She was interacting with those inside the house, the very time we're talking about, right?
Yes.
She went outside at some point to talk to her brother outside the house, right behind the SUV that you're describing as Ms. Reed's SUV, correct?
Yes.
So you knew that she was, and you knew all this when you asked her for that screenshot.
I was trying to piece together.
You knew all this when you asked for the screenshot. You
Yes.
knew what her position was in this case, correct?
She had no involvement. What happened
I
outside
didn't ask
is
you if she had
different.
involvement.
Let her finish her answer.
Go ahead.
Ms. McCabe, finish that answer.
I didn't. What happened outside was separate from anything that happened inside.
I'm going to ask you again. You knew all of that information, that Julie Nagel was a percipient witness in this case, as was everyone else inside 34 Fairview, when you asked for that screenshot, correct?
Yes.
That is another example of you coordinating information with other witnesses in this case, correct?
Peter Allen.
No, that is not correct.
Were you ever advised by Michael Proctor not to coordinate information with other witnesses in the case? Did he ever say, don't do that?
I don't recall.
So you don't recall, or he didn't?
I don't recall if he did or not.
Okay. If he did tell you not to coordinate with other witnesses, this would be a breach of that agreement, wouldn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Indeed, once you got that screenshot, we'll talk about that in just a second. When you got the screenshot, did you ever share that with law enforcement?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
You never provided that to Michael Proctor or any other investigator, did you?
I'm not sure if I did or not.
As a matter of fact, Ms. McCabe, the only reason we know about that screenshot is because of the extraction on your phone. Isn't that right?
If that's how you know about it, I'm not sure.
Oh, goodness.
You asked for that screenshot for your own personal use, for your own personal information, for your own personal coordination, correct, of what happened that night?
That's what are you asking? There's 3 questions there.
Did you ask for that screenshot for your own personal use?
Yes.
And indeed, you do know what time it was that you looked out and saw Ryan Nagel's truck, because the screenshot told you that, correct?
The screenshot told me when Ryan Nagel pulled up. It didn't tell when I saw.
And what was the time when Ryan Nagel indicated that he pulled up?
I'd have to look at the screenshot.
2:23 a.m., 12:23 a.m., sounds right?
If you have it and that's what it says, absolutely.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I approach? Yes, you may, but don't touch my bangs. Bev says, leave my bangs alone.
May I? Take a look at that transcript of that call. You can read that to yourself. I highlighted it to yourself.
To be heard.
All right, why don't you come to council? Why don't you council come to
We got a sidebar. We need a reader. Sidebar. All right, so let's FF through the sidebar. We're back.
Anything that we've been discussing. Okay.
Thank
Take a look at the highlighted portion and tell me if that refreshes your recollection about anything we've been discussing.
Is the page available
I'm
before
sorry,
this?
just a yes or no. Does that refresh your recollection about anything that we've been discussing?
It's just what we've discussed. It doesn't really refresh.
So it does not refresh her memory. Next question.
I don't think that's what she said.
That's what you
Yes, that's what I said.
That was her answer.
That does not refresh your recollection.
Objection.
That was her answer. Next question, Mr. Jackson.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I approach? How does this not get your recollection, refresh your recollection?
Thank you.
Take a look at the bottom of that page and tell me if that refreshes your recollection about anything we were just discussing.
Come on, Jen. The longer you take, the more sus it looks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McCabe, having seen these, does this refresh your recollection about what we were just discussing concerning that conversation?
Regarding me asking Julie Nagel for the time?
Correct.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And what time did that was attendant to a screenshot that you asked for, correct?
Yes.
And that time was what?
Objection.
Do you remember the time?
Can I look at the paper? I was reading everything. I didn't
So
look at the
the
exact
question is
time.
whether you remember.
Oh, do I remember
God,
it? I don't remember
Jen.
the exact time, but I can read it off the paper. That's different than a memory.
That's different. Next question.
So this does not reflect your recollection. This is the time that was reflected on that screenshot.
Jeez.
I can read the time, but
That's
in
not
my
question.
memory.
That's not my question. I have to do it this way. Mr.
Okay,
Casey.
sorry.
Does it refresh your recollection as you sit here, having read this, as to the time that was reflected on that screenshot?
I don't, sitting here today, the only reason I know there's a time is because of what's on that paper.
But you did ask for a screenshot from Ms. Nagel, correct?
Yes, I
And that-
did.
And that screenshot said something to the effect of outside. Is that right?
What's wrong?
Just that question. The screenshot said something about outside.
Is that right?
I believe it said here, yes.
Or maybe it's
Yes, something
And
similar.
it was a screenshot from Ryan Nagel to Julie Nagel indicating that he had arrived.
Oh my God.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. It was a screenshot of a text message from Ryan Nagel to Julie Nagel saying, I've arrived. In other
Yes.
words, I've arrived at 34 Fairview.
Yes, it was.
Because he was intending to give her a ride home, which he had asked for. Is that right?
Objection.
It's the same.
You did see Julie Nagel go outside and approach the vehicle, correct?
I never saw her go near the vehicle. I saw her go outside.
Got it. Did she ultimately come back indoors?
Yes.
Did she come back in with anybody else?
No.
About what time would you estimate that to have been in the course of that evening?
When she came back inside,
When she walked out and then came back inside?
soon after she went out, she talked to her brother. She came back inside.
And about what time of day was that? If you know.
I mean, this was all happening while we were at my sister's house.
Right. Was it 12:15, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock?
Well, according to the paper, it would have had to
That's
been.
not what I'm
Not
asking.
according to the.
Do you have an independent recollection of about, if not down to the minute, about what time that was?
I could say I'd have to be. I wasn't looking at my watch that night, so it's very hard for me to give a time just off of my memory. I know what I've seen, but
Okay.
it's hard.
You did see both Ryan Nagel's truck and Miss Reed's SUV in front of the house at the same time, correct?
I saw his lights in my peripheral vision on the left.
But the lights are attached to what?
The car, but it wasn't out front. Miss Reed's vehicle was up front.
Right. When I say in front of 34 Fairview, we're going to talk about the spacing in just a second. I just meant out in front of the house.
Yes, over to the side, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're indicating that, and I want to be clear about this, as you're looking out that storm door window, going from right to left, it was Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Then Higgins's Jeep. Is that right?
His Jeep was in front of the mailbox.
Then behind that, was there a space? And then Mr. Nagel's truck, or was the truck right behind the Jeep?
That's what I can't tell you. I just remember seeing lights. I didn't look over and pay much attention to it. I was just quickly looking at the Miss Reed's car, and then I went back and sat down.
Do you recall testifying at a prior hearing that it was, your perception was Miss Reed's car, her SUV, the Jeep, a space, and then Mr. Nagel's truck from right to left?
I remember Mr. Nagel's truck over to the left in my peripheral vision. I can't give you an exact location.
But there's no question in your mind as you sit here that Brian Higgins' Jeep was between Brian Nagel's truck and Miss Reed's SUV. You remember that very clearly, correct?
I know that this Miss Reed's vehicle was here, and there were lights in my peripheral vision over here. I wasn't.
Lady, come on.
You know, I just was looking quickly.
So let me ask you the question again.
Okay.
Assuming that the lights are attached to something, Brian Nagel's truck, we've already established that. What you're looking at, when you look out the storm door window, is Miss Reed's truck from SUV rather. So just behind that is the left. As you're looking at it, Mr. Higgins' Jeep, correct? And behind that, Mr. Nagel's truck. You remember the Jeep being between the truck and the SUV?
I remember looking out the window. It was dark. I remember seeing lights over to the left. That is what I remember.
Where was the Jeep as it relates to the lights?
I'm assuming the Jeep was still parked at the mailbox.
You saw it. I mean, it's a 5,000-pound Jeep, right?
It was dark. I wasn't studying outside. It was a quick thing I did. I looked, I saw it, I went back to the table.
Okay. And I'm asking for what saw it part was.
Oh my God, Jen.
You saw my name was truck. Then you saw Higgins' Jeep. Then you saw Miss Reed's SUV. Correct.
I saw Miss Reed's SUV parked straight out front, and in my peripheral vision, I saw lights that, yes, must have been attached to a truck, but I didn't study the lineup of cars. I'm sorry.
All right, so
Can I have one more question?
one more question.
Where was the Jeep? Was it in front of the SUV, behind Mr. Nagel's truck, or was it between the two of them? It's a simple question.
You're asking what I saw when I looked outside. I didn't, and I'm telling you exactly what I saw. It was dark. It was Karen's car there, and in my peripheral vision, I saw lights, and then I went back to the table.
Okay, that's the last question. We're going to break for lunch.
Very well.
All right, jurors, we'll take our lunch and recess. And Ms. McCabe, you can follow up right behind the jurors and we'll see you after 45 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Jurors, right this way.
Thank you.
What are we having for lunch today? Goodbye. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Jurors, right this way.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right, so they're on break for lunch. It looks like they are still on break for lunch with live court starting soon. Yeah, Mama Bev says, I need a gummy and a bang trim. She's like, these are getting in my eyes. Yesterday, Mama Bev's bangs were touching I got to get off this fan. They were touching her eyelashes, just gently touching her eyelashes. So she's got to get over to Great Clips, got to get that bang trim. You know, I think it's only like who knows? With tariffs, maybe $25. I don't know how much the bang trim at Great Clips is. But whoa. All right. So we got Jen McCabe starting to Jen McCabe. You know, we saw a softer side of Sears with Jen McCabe with the lighter colors, the lighter hair. She looks refreshed. She's doing things like looking at the jury and smiling. She was being less trying to lead, you know, the questioning and such during Brennan and even in the beginning of Alan Jackson's cross-examination. And then slowly but surely, Jen's creeping back in. And she's also going from, you know, these very core memories of, you know, we prayed in the car, and then, you know, Karen Read was crazy. She was hysterical and she was yelling, could I hit him? Did I hit him? Could I hit him? Could I hit him? Could I hit him? Did I hit him? Did I hit him? I hit him. I think I hit him. I hit him. I hit him. To now, I don't remember. And it is like, oh, and now she's back to, well, maybe I could see, you could show me and that will refresh my memory, but I don't know. Okay, because we left the bar. We went to my sister's house. Well, isn't that Brian Albert's? Yeah, it's Brian Albert's. And I wanted to go to Dunkin' Donuts. I did want to go to Dunkin' Donuts. And it wasn't open. But I didn't search anything. No, the woman was not found guilty. There was a hung jury. So they had a mistrial. So now we're in the second Karen Read trial. Un, deux, trois. Hopefully there's not a trois. We just need to get this duh. Bangs look shorter today. She must have listened yesterday. I think she did, Cammie. I think she hit up, but the bangs are growing because the more pissed Mama Bev gets, Mama Bev. I keep on saying Mama Bev because Sarah from Nerdtainment's mom is Mama Bev. Auntie Bev is the longer her bangs get, the more pissed she gets. Yes, because Karen can only talk in threes. Okay, I'm going to grab a quick beverage, you guys. We're going to play a commercial break. So smash that like. Sound off in the comments all your thoughts, hopes, dreams, and opinions. The trial hopefully will be back soon. And we can chat a little more about this. But I got to get something to drink. Because, the Jen.
Jen. Because I had like bread and maybe peanut butter in my car.
Why did you have bread and peanut butter in your car?
I had my niece for the week, and I was dragging her like to all my kids' sporting events. So we'd go from like one game to another game to a practice. So sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, I'd try to throw her a peanut butter sandwich.
And they were making fun of you?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what the hell?
Sometimes instead of always giving her McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts.
Welcome to Goth Talk. I'm Cersei Nightshade.
And I'm Azrael Abyss, Prince of Sorrows.
Tonight, we're coming to you live from Suncoast High School, where just down this hall, the pathetic day dwellers of the class of 1998 are celebrating the tawdry amusement known as the prom.
We'll be great. We'll be awesome. We'll knock him dead, right? Right? Yeah.
This is wrong.
What?
You doing my homework, it's wrong.
Well, I was just trying to help.
It's like I'm taking advantage of you or something.
You're not taking advantage of me.
The square of the hypotenuse of a right triangle is equal to the sums of the square of the other two sides, baby!
It would be different if we were like... But now, you're just... You know... a friend or whatever.
No time! There's never any time! I don't have time to study! I'll never get into Stanford! I'll let everyone down! I'm so confused!
I can't do this anymore. It's okay.
You're right.
It's okay.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
I just need one of these.
Pills? You mean you really are taking drugs?
No, in a way it was wrong, but I just have a feeling that this is going to be really good.
I don't know.
So whoever's going to tutor you, their name is next to yours.
Brain Krakow? Are you... Brain? Brian.
I need them.
Jesse, give me those.
I need them, Zach. I have to sing.
Jesse! You can't sing tonight.
Yes, I can. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared.
So, anyway, The Odyssey is like this real long book, right? And
I don't believe this. I don't. You like do this? This is like how you live?
Yeah.
Welcome to Goth Talk. I'm Cersei Nightshade.
And I'm Azrael Abyss, Prince of Sorrow.
Tonight, we're coming to you live from Suncoast High School, where just down this hall, the pathetic day dwellers of the class of 1998 are celebrating the tawdry amusement known as the prom.
We'll be great. We'll be awesome. We'll knock him dead, right? Right? Yeah.
This is wrong.
What?
You doing my homework, it's wrong.
Well, I was just trying to help.
It's like I'm taking advantage of you or something.
You're not taking advantage of me.
The square of the hypotenuse of a right triangle is equal to the sums of the square of the other two sides, baby!
It would be different if we were like... But now, you're just... You know... a friend or whatever.
No time! There's never any time! I don't have time to study! I'll never get into Stanford! I'll let everyone down! I'm so confused!
I can't do this anymore. It's okay.
You're right.
It's okay.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
I just need one of these.
Pills? You mean you really are taking drugs?
No, in a way it was wrong, but I just have a feeling that this is going to be really good.
I don't know.
So whoever's going to tutor you, their name is next to yours.
Brain Krakow? Are you... Brain? Brian.
I need them.
Jesse, give me those.
I need them, Zach. I have to sing.
Jesse! You can't sing tonight.
Yes, I can. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared.
I'm so scared. All right, you guys, they're still not back. I need to run and pick up Buffy the Anxiety Slayer from her grooming appointment. I'll be back later with more of the Jen McCabe cross-examination, which is sure to start soon. We'll be back very soon with that. So smash that like on your way out. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on social media at Joleen Lunzer. Everywhere. You all are wonderful, beautiful pumpkin spice babies, and I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Feel free to share my channel with your friends, family, enemies, the Alberts, the McCabes. No. And I'll see you all very soon. Always remember to enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Bye.
If you like what you see.